Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in Season 2 Part 2 of What If the Transformers Crash Landed in Code Geass. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Nerves of steel. Nunnally laid back on a hospital bed within the ARC's main lab, undergoing another checkup over her leg braces. As Ratchet and Nina looked over the computer systems, Akari helped the bespectacled girl while Sayoko and Kagaya stayed by Nunnally's side. The scanner shot a light over Nunnally's legs for a few seconds before it stopped, and they got all the data they need. Your nerves, bones, and muscles appear to be making a rapid recovery. Ratchet informed, but you should still avoid doing anything reckless until you get those braces off. Thank you, Nunnally said as Kagaya and Sayoko helped her stand up. So, I'll be able to get these off soon. Very soon, Nina smiled. The braces only keep your legs upright, while Cybertronian nanotechnology helps to repair your damaged nerves and restore your muscles. This kind of medical technology is leagues beyond anything Britannia ever came up with. It's helped save many of our soldiers' lives. Nunnally giggled slightly. You've really changed, Nina. She told the bespectacled girl. I remember back at Ashford when you were so shy and, her smile faded slightly. No offense, but you didn't have a positive view on people who weren't Britannian, specifically the Japanese. Nina's smile faded as well. I was different back then. But, I'm hoping I can be someone better, someone that Yuffie can admire. Well, I'd say you're doing a fantastic job. Kagaya told her. Now you're working with the Japanese and giant aliens. She gestured to Ratchet for emphasis, as well as herself, Sayoko, and Akari. That's right, I'd say you'd make a fantastic scientist and doctor one day. Akari commented, causing Nina to smile with a blush. Akari then turned her attention back to Nunnally. Just be sure you take it easy, Nunnally. I don't want anything to happen to my favorite patient, and sister of my future son-in-law. She smirked before turning apologetically to the other girl. Sorry Lady Kagaya. That doesn't bother me at all. Kagaya said with a smile. Men have basic physical needs after all. Most of the group looked toward her in surprise while Nunnally just smiled and laughed at her friend's antics before turning to the Autobot. Thank you so much Ratchet. Not only for this, but for helping my brother and my friends. Ratchet tried to hide his smile as he turned around. Yes, your brother and friends are crucial in our war against the Decepticons and we can't afford to lose any more able bodies. Don't let him fool you, Nunnally. Sayoko teased. He may act cold, but he has a warm spark deep inside. However, a loud crashing noise was heard that startled everyone as Sayoko and Akari were the first to rush to Nunnally protectively. What was that? Nina exclaimed as Ratchet was the first to run toward the sound of the crash and was later joined from the other side of the laboratory by Perceptor and Cecile with everyone else close behind to see what appeared to be a large pile of Autobot-sized cylinder devices that fell and stacked all over each other. And what do we have here? Rakshata asked teasingly with Ganabati and Fix-It right behind her, where everyone saw none other than Lloyd at the bottom of the pile of pods. Thankfully however, he wasn't crushed. A little help here? Lloyd asked as Ratchet rolled his eyes before he and Perceptor began to lift the pods off the pile, allowing Lloyd to stand up. Fix-It gave something of a chuckle. Lloyd Asplund, I sincerely appreciate your efforts to improve upon our limited resources, but I thought it made it clear to allow those who are more experienced with Cybertronian technology to use the more dangerous equipment. Especially considering your restricted access to said technology when you were working for the Decepticons, while I was given full access. Rakshata practically gloated while waving her pipe tauntingly. Which essentially, makes me your superior. What is this stuff anyway? Nunnally asked, referring to the pods. Stasis pods. Perceptor answered. We've procured them from the Harbinger. Anything or anyone that enters them will be, as you humans say, frozen like in a meat locker. We can use them to detain any Decepticons we might capture. Ganabati answered. Maybe even store dangerous weapons if they become unstable. The latter certainly is a unique way to store dangerous materials. Ratchet commented. But I can see us making use of it like that. Lloyd sighed as he brushed the dust off his clothing. I agree, due to the stinginess of Britannia's old partners turned destroyers, I was given less than pleasurable access to advantage technology, so you do have me beat in the experience department, Rakshata. However, now that I'm on your side, I believe I may be able to tinker more with devices like those fancy Yakan relics you've been searching for. Need I remind you that those devices can be potential weapons of mass destruction? Fix-It told him, I'd rather leave artifacts like those to more capable hands. But if you really want to help, little Lloyd, you can help clean up this mess you made. Rakshata smirked. Nunnally glanced toward Cecile. Are they fighting? Cecile gave a wincing smile. Well, you could say that. Those two have been rivals ever since they attended the academy. They're always trying to show off the other. And I'm thinking Lloyd's starting to get more than a little jealous since Rakshata, as she graciously put it, knows a bit more about Cybertronian technology from experience. I see, Nunnally couldn't quite understand, but something told her that this would probably develop into something fun and humorous, or dangerous, or even both. Meanwhile, in a large, forested area that surrounded the vicinity of Mount Ontake, a ground bridge portal suddenly opened up as a large group of Autobots and Black Knight Nightmares stepped out. First was the Black Dragon unit consisting of Toto in his Zangetsu, the four Holy Swords in their respective Akatsuki command models, the Autobot Drift, and Zidane in his Gekka Shiden. Following them were the Wreckers, led by Ironhide as Bulkhead, Wheeljack, Grindcore, Warpath, Chromia, and Hotshot all walked out alongside Rai in his Raiden Nightmare and Nonette in her Galician Conquista. They were joined by the aerial bots consisting of Silverbolt, Jetfire, Air Raid, and Windblade. Finally, the large nightmare known as the Agravain, piloted by Wizard, exited along with a small team of Akatsukis, one more heavily armed than the others, which was piloted by Tamaki as he led the Inoue, who had been outfitted with a cybernetic leg to replace the one she lost. Minami, Sugiyama, and Yoshida out in their respective Akatsukis. Once everyone was out, and the ground bridge portal closed, the leaders consisting of Toto, Ironhide, Wizard, and Silverbolt along with Jetfire and Rai as the Aerialbot scientist pulled out a device to scan the area. My scans indicate the relic we're seeking is on the south side of the mountain. Jetfire reported. Also getting a lot of energon from that mountain. Rai added. Not surprising, Toto commented. Next to Fuji, Ontake was one of the largest Sakuradite supply lines for the former Britannian Empire. Meaning this is all likely to be heavily guarded. Ironhide said. And with all the humans enslaved in that mine, not to mention we got no idea what this relic is, we can't go all out, guns blazing. Maybe we should split up. 4 groups total, Wizard suggested. 2 groups act as a distraction to draw out the Decepticons, one team secures the relic, the other secures the mine. Good idea, Silverbolt agreed. Wreckers and aerial bots will act as the distraction. We'll attack from the skies, while Ironhide and his team come in from the north side of the mountain. Sounds like a plan to me. Bulkhead nodded. The Black Dragon will work to secure the relic. Toto declared. Yes, sir. The 4 Holy Swords and Zidane said simultaneously. Understood. Drift nodded. Tamaki, you and your team will join me to liberate the mine. Wizard. You got it, Flash Mask Guy. Tamaki commented. Let's move out. Ironhide ordered as he transformed, followed by all the other Autobots as they and their respective nightmare companions either drove or flew out in the directions they were assigned. Ray's Raiden also transformed, taking the form of a Mitsubishi FX with a Cybertronian hue to it, as he flew just above his fellow wreckers. At the same time, at the very summit of the mountain, 4 Decepticon Seekers flew down before transforming to land in their respective robot modes. You're sure this is where the relic is located? Starscream asked as Thundercracker took out the scanner. That's right, on the south side of this mountain. Thundercracker confirmed. So why are we at the top? Why can't we just swoop in and grab it? Skywarp questioned. Because we're waiting for everyone else. Slipstream told them. With the destruction of Fuji, Ontake is the largest mine production in this country. We lose this, we may end up losing this nation entirely. Starscream groaned in annoyance. Let's just hope our backup is competent enough to provide some form of assistance. 2 more ground bridges suddenly appeared on the summit as 2 Decepticon teams stepped outside. One was the Combatacons, led by Onslaught and consisting of Vortex, Brawl, Swindle, and Blast Off. The other team was none other than Squadron X, led by Barricade and consisting of Lugnut, Blitzwing, Blackout, Quake, Demolisher, Overload, and Ground Pounder, along with Headlock. Starscream couldn't help but look annoyed at who had joined them. You have got to be kidding me. What are you doing here, Onslaught? I could say the same to you, Starscream. The leader of the Combaticons addressed. We're trying to keep this mine from being destroyed, so I really think you should just leave before you screw something up, again. Me? Screw up? Starscream questioned in anger. When have I ever screwed up? You want your list in alphabetical or chronological order? Barricade commented with a smirk. I'm still surprised the boss even let you around after all this time. Probably because he likes to beat him up. Brawl put in. Who doesn't like to beat up this guy? Quake also joked. As many of the other Decepticons either laughed or smirked, Starscream was practically fuming. Do not take that attitude with me. I am second in command of the Decepticons and my authority will be respected. If you should question anyone's methods, it should be Megatron. Forever allowing the Autobots and those accursed Black Knights to live. How dare you? Lugnut made his way over to Starscream. How dare you question our glorious leader? He is infallible. He will lead our glorious race to victory. To question him, is to question the very order of the universe itself. Oh, then tell me Lugnut, why is it the order of the universe has permitted our enemies to live? Starscream practically exploded. Everyone stop. They all heard a new voice as they saw what appeared to be a flying mechanical shark soaring overhead before transforming to drop down in between the three groups, revealing himself to be the Sharkticon, Skybite. We're all Decepticons. We should not be fighting amongst ourselves. Britannia had that same problem and look where that got them. Skybite. Starscream looked in surprise. Why are you here? Onslaught also questioned. Lord Megatron called for me to help secure the mine while the rest of you secure the relic. Skybite answered. And since we're all working toward the same objective, we should at least try to work together. He is correct. Blitzwing commented in his cold and logical persona. Infighting and divisions are the root cause of systems falling apart. He then shifted to his hot-headed persona. So, all of you shut your traps and start working together, or I'll crush every single one of you into scrap metal. That's right, we're all Decepticons here. Even Demolishor added. So, let's get on with the mission. Starscream, Barricade, and Onslaught all glared at each other before relenting. Very well. The lead seeker accepted. Onslaught nodded as he projected a three-dimensional hologram of the mine from his wrist, with the coordinates of the relic. My team and I will secure the relic. Starscream, since the seekers are better in the air, you should patrol the skies and keep an eye out for any enemies. Assuming you don't accidentally break the relic upon its discovery. Starscream commented, which Onslaught chose to ignore. Squadron X will patrol the ground, that's the more likely spot we'll find any Autobots. Barricade said. I will assist with securing the mine. Skybite commented. Who's in charge, anyway? It's a joint operation. Thundercracker answered. Quillfire and Springload. Virtually every Decepticon groaned at the mention of those names. Not those idiots. Blackout groaned. Quillfire is a total anarchist, but at least he's somewhat organized so I get him. Swindle said. But what about Springload? He's totally nuts. He makes Blitzwing look like his head is screwed on straight. Headlock said. No offense. He told the Triple Changer. None taken. Blitzwing replied in his cold persona before changing to his insane one. When someone's crazier than me, you know they're off their rocker. He laughed maniacally. And now, it is time for the main event. Overload announced dramatically. Let the show begin. North side of Ontake Mountain. Multiple Viacons patrolled the area, not noticing that the enemy was lurking throughout the forest. Ironhide peeked out from behind the trees to observe the area before quietly gesturing back towards his hidden team before he waved his hand to give the signal. Suddenly, the red Cybertronian tank form of Warpath shot out of the forest. Hey Cons, get a load of this. He shot a powerful energon blast from his main cannon to obliterate a group of Viacons, getting the attention of several others as they opened fire. This left them open however for Chromia, who remained in hiding to snipe off the heads of three Viacons at an upper point on a ridge, while Rai in his Raiden's vehicle mode, shot down before transforming to reveal his bright blue energy wings and rain energy blasts down on the remaining Viacons in explosive fashion. Hey, leave some for the rest of us. Hotshot called out as the remaining wreckers stepped out. You think they heard that? Rai asked with a cocky grin. Pretty sure the whole mine heard that. Wheeljack grinned. Nonette chuckled before her Galatian's radar bleeped with activity. We got incoming. What drew all their attention first was a trio of the airborne vehicle modes of Lugnet, Blitzwing, and Blackout, which opened fire, missiles from Blackout and Lugnet, and blasts of fire from Blitzwing, forcing many of the wreckers to scatter as the Decepticon trio transformed and revealed themselves. Looks like we got company, boys. Blackout mocked. And it appears to be the wreckers. Blitzwing noted in his icy tone. Curious, it seems as though they've recruited humans into their ranks. Goes to show how desperate the bots are. Barricade called out as he rolled along the side in his vehicle mode, alongside that of Overload, Quake, Ground Pounder, Demolisher, and even Headlock before they all transformed and surrounded the group of bots and knights. Who the heck are these guys? Nonette exclaimed. Ironhide recognized quite a few of them before looking toward the one resembling a police car. Barricade. Nice to see you, old-timer. Barricade smirked. If you're leading the wreckers, Prime's standards are starting to sink. Say that again, pal. I dare ya. Grindcore challenged. I'll punch that smirk right off your face. Good luck with that, Quake said. We're Squadron X, some of the best cons out there. This team of cons was made specifically to counter the wreckers. Demolisher said. So let's see which of us is the strongest. That sounds fine with me. Bulkhead said as he and his teammates all leapt outward to engage the Decepticons in brutal combat. Near the summit, multiple explosions lit up the sky as the four aerial bots in their respective vehicle modes had finished off the last of the patrolling helicopter Viacons before transforming to regroup and hover around the area of the mountain top. That's the last of them. Silverbolt said. That felt a little too easy. Windblade commented. Why do you say that? Air Raid asked casually. I'd say we're due for a break. Perhaps, but not today. The quartet looked up to see four more fighter jets flying down to engage the aerial bots in combat as they transformed back into their jet modes, splitting up for a series of one-on-one dogfights. Jetfire's jet mode came to a stop as the leader of the group transformed to reveal himself. Jetfire, my old friend. Starscream. The Autobot transformed to glare. Our friendship ended long ago. The day you decided to join Megatron. The leader of the Seekers chuckled. Still hung up over that. Well then, I'd say it is time we settle old scores. Starscream transformed again to fly away as Jetfire also transformed to give pursuit. South side. Perimeter appears to be secure. Asahina noted as he, Urabe, Senba, and Chiba patrolled the skies while Todos Zanjetsu, alongside Z Dian's custom Gekka, and Drift slid down the slippery slope toward their destination. The wreckers and aerial bots appear to be engaging the enemy. Senba reported. And it looks like Wizard's team has entered the mines. Sounds like we got this relic in the bag. Urabe smirked. Don't get too cocky. Toto told them. We've underestimated the Decepticons before, and it has cost us dearly. Be careful, Colonel. Chiba said. We'll keep watch out here. Toto, Drift, and Z managed to come to a halt at the bottom of the unearthed ravine to find what appeared to be a Cybertronian pod. At the moment, it looked as if nobody touched it yet. I take it that's the relic? Z asked. It would appear so. Drift answered. Let us retrieve it before. Suddenly, two explosions erupted in the sky as Urabe and Senbei's nightmares were blasted by a fast-flying vehicle, with Chiba and Asahina's Akatsukis also shot in the back by what appeared to be a helicopter, all four nightmares crashing and rolling down the hill. But Toto and his comrades didn't have time to react as a large explosion erupted from the ground behind them, courtesy of a tank that was flanked by two other vehicles. Despite their nightmares being damaged, the Holy Swords regrouped with their leader, along with Drift, and Z as the five vehicles transformed and revealed themselves. The Combatants, Drift exclaimed upon seeing them. In the metallic flesh, Swindle said with pride. Vortex eyed the only Autobot present. Is that you, Deadlock? I no longer answer to that name. Drift stated. You must have fallen real low if you're taking orders from a human. Brawl commented. Who are these guys? Onslaught eyed the Black Nightmare and recognized its features. Well, you must be that human Starscream was making such a fuss over. It's Toto, right? The Colonel's eyes narrowed but said nothing in response. And the rest of you must be the so-called Four Holy Swords. There's 5 of them, Onslaught. Blastoff pointed out. What's with the purple one that's got way too many blades? You can call me, Zed the Tiger, and I'm the guy who's about to slice and dice every single one of you. Zedine exclaimed as his purple Gekka drew a pair of dual blades with Drift, Toto, and each of the holy swords drawing their respective blades as well. Onslaught chuckled. This should be fun. Center of the mines. An explosion erupted as the Agravain, followed by the assigned Akatsukis, rolled out of the dust and into the center of the mines, aiming their long-ranged weapons, ready for a fight, only to find nothing. The large central chamber of the mines was completely empty, save for a few unmined energon crystals as well as boxes. Huh, where are the guards? Tamaki asked. Not to mention all the slaves. Inoue added. Underneath his mask, Wizard's eyes narrowed. Be on guard. This is likely a trap. The second he said that, however, something fast smashed into the Agravain's side, causing it to topple over. It was revealed to be a certain mechanical shark, which flew back to avoid the Akatsuki's opening fire at it, but that couldn't stop the pilots inside from looking more than a little perplexed. Is that a shark? Sugiyama questioned. Indeed, I am. He transformed to reveal himself. The name's Skybite, and you're right, this is a trap. Two more Decepticons entered the fray in their respective vehicle modes before meeting with Skybite to transform and reveal themselves as what appeared to be a duo of a robotic porcupine and frog. Ah, these must be the false revolutionaries known as the Black Knights, siding with the oppressive Autobots. Quillfire stated. Thieves. Springload pointed to them. They are here to steal the sacred treasures of Doradus. But the sacred treasures are mine to claim and mine alone. Every single Black Knight, including Wizard, looked nothing short of perplexed. A shark, a porcupine, and a freaking frog. Tamaki questioned. What the hell is this? Some kind of kid's Saturday morning cartoon. True victory is victory over oneself. Skybite said. Victory right here right now. The Black Knights and even his fellow Decepticons looked to him in confusion. It's a Japanese haiku, written by Eri Takase. What can I say? I'm fond of poetry. Now then, let's get started, shall we? He then transformed into his shark mode again and shot at the Black Knights, fangs first. The Ark, Laboratory. So, how big was this Metroplex again? Nunnally exclaimed as she, Kagaya, and Sayoko looked toward Ratchet and Perceptor in awe. His exact height is almost impossible to calculate even by our standards. Ratchet explained. But to put it simply, his alternate mode would have been even bigger than the old Tokyo settlement. Even Sayoko's eyes widened. I can't imagine. And if Metroplex used his spark to fuel the Ark, does that mean? Nunnally asked with a hopeful expression. No, Nunnally. Perceptor shook his head. Metroplex sacrificed his life so that the Ark could fly. He cannot be restored. Oh, I see, Nunnally looked down in sadness. It's a shame. Kagaya said. We could really use someone like that with us right now. I'm sure, but that's not. Nunnally couldn't find the right words right away. He was alive, and I'm sure that he was glad to sacrifice himself. Sayoko placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. It's all right, we understand. Perceptor assured. It was his choice to aid us, even at great cost. And Metroplex's sacrifice has not been in vain. Because of that, the Autobots, and by extension, the people of Earth, now have a chance to win against the Decepticons. Casualties are an unfortunate consequence of war. Ratchet added. All we can do is push forward so that those who have made the ultimate sacrifice can rest in peace when it's all over. That was enough for Nunnally to smile as both Sayoko and Kagaya looked to her with agreeing looks in her eyes. Still, to have an Autobot the size of a city. They all looked in surprise as a certain white-haired young woman appeared out of nowhere. I can't imagine how something like that is even possible. Oh, I'm sorry, who are you? Nunnally asked. X, from Peace Mark. Ratchet acknowledged. It's Miss X, thank you very much. She corrected. Miss X. Nunnally wondered. Like Ratchet said, she's an intermediary who conveys requests from Peace Mark. Kagaya explained. Now she works with me and everyone else in intelligence. Oh, no, I know that, but is Miss X a codename? Nunnally asked. What's your real name? I don't have one. Miss X answered, much to the group's surprise, even that of the Autobot scientists. You don't have a name. Even Sayoko was caught off guard. Nope. Miss X confirmed. I came from the Geass Order. Orpheus rescued me a long time ago. I don't remember anything before that. So, I just go by Miss X. Nunnally looked in sympathy, to not know your own name or past. This was the same with Rai. She could only pray that her past wasn't as tragic as her half-brother's was, but given what she heard about the secret organization her father and uncle built, she wouldn't be surprised at the thought of another tragic past. Suddenly an idea came to her. Well, how about we come up with something right now? Nunnally suggested. How about Misty? Misty? Miss X asked. Yep, I think it sounds nice. Nunnally confirmed. Even Kagaya joined in. A last name would also be needed. How about Ix? Misty Ix? Ratchet asked as he and Perceptor exchanged glances. Is there a meaning behind that name? Nope. Nunnally and Kagaya both said with smiles simultaneously. Even the mysterious young woman thought about it. Misty Ix, I like it. Alright, from henceforth, my name is Misty Ix. This earned smiles from the girls, however, not too far from their location. Lloyd was looking at some Cybertronian data over the spark extractor on his own personal computer when the device suddenly shut down. Huh, what is? He then looked to see none other than Fixit holding the power cord, having disconnected the computer himself. I believe we had a discussion about you and Cybertronian technology. The orange mini-con told him. No, that more so your own personal opinion, which I am inclined to disagree with. Lloyd replied, not noticing the commotion drew the attention of not only Nunnally, Kagaya, Ratchet, Perceptor, Sayoko, and the newly named Misty X, but also Cecile, Nina, and Ganabati. Sounds like someone's a little envious. Rakshata commented with a smirk as she walked up. I can't say that I blame you, given your lack of experience. Again, you say I have less experience. Lloyd replied, yet I don't understand why you're being so stingy. You let me provide data to those protoforms to make those transformable nightmares for Suzaku and the others. Only because you were more familiar with the Lancelot. Rakshata answered. But I don't need your grubby, pudding-filled, hands on my children. Aha, Lloyd realized with a grin. It's not about my so-called lack of experience. You're just worried I might mess up with the nightmares you designed. Well, I do seem to recall the original Lancelot, and other Britannian nightmares based off it, not having a winning streak against my babies. Rakshata put in. Only because you had outside help. Lloyd smirked. Take that away, and my Lancelot is the better one. I am well versed in human emotion and psychology, based upon my viewing of a certain doctor on your television. Fixit said to Lloyd. In addition to your own self-admitted sociopathic tendencies, he would say you have an unhealthy need to prove your own superiority and fear competition. That certainly sounds like Lloyd. Rakshata added. And while I may have had alien resources at my disposal, I was able to familiarize myself with their technology rather quickly. That being said, I know a whole lot more about Cybertronian science than you, up to the point where I was able to help in manufacturing a synthetic energon. A formula that has yet to be fully completed. Lloyd quickly said. Perhaps I should take a crack at it. I'm willing to bet I can finish it. I do have a rather studious and organized approach to this sort of thing. Fixit scoffed. Organized. Have you seen your Lancelot? The original design was incredibly lacking. In fact, he smirked. I might make some modifications right now. He rolled away, much to Lloyd's horror. No, don't you dare. He ran to pursue the mini-con, with Rakshata not far behind. Should we do something about that? Nina asked Cecile and Ganabati. I honestly feel like we'd just get in the way. Ganabati answered. Cecile, however, couldn't help but chuckle. You know, it's actually kind of funny to see him get worked up. Now I think he knows how I feel. North side of MT. On take. Explosions rocked the entire area. Rocks and trees were blown everywhere as the entire side of this mountain erupted into a war zone between the Wreckers and Squadron X. Ironhide fired his fusion cannons at Blackout, who crossed his arms to take the impact before firing from his own shockwave cannon built into his right arm to create a tremor along the ground and knock Ironhide back. Blackout then proceeded to draw his rotating rotor blade and bring it down on the veteran Autobot, only to be shot in the shoulder by Chromia with her null ray sniper rifle, causing him to falter and allow Ironhide to get back up and deck Blackout across the face and knock him down. I got your back, Ironhide. Chromia said with a wink. Don't worry about me, he replied back. Help the others, I got this. Try not to get cocky. She smirked before running to assist any of her fellow wreckers who needed it, right as Blackout got back up, allowing Ironhide to run in and punch him in the gust before decking him across the face again. Bulkhead roared as he charged Lugnut, throwing his mace toward his face, only for Lugnut to catch it with one hand, while using the other to bring down his large axe, which Bulkhead blocked by using his other arm. Though he felt the axe cut down into his arm, it wasn't too bad as he wrestled it against the larger Decepticon. "Fool!" Lugnut exclaimed as he actually lifted Bulkhead up with his free arm before throwing him over his head. No one moves Lugnut. He then walked over Bulkhead and raised his double-sided axe, one of the blades glowing a bright red, ready to unleash a devastating explosion upon impact. "In the name of our glorious leader, you must be extinguished." "You first," Bulkhead shouted as he shot a point-blank energon blast from his cannon at the charged axe blade, causing a powerful explosion in Lugnut's face that sent him flying and crashing into the forest, leaving a crater upon impact. In the air, the vehicle mode of Ray's Raiden gave pursuit to Blitzwing's flying vehicle mode as he tried to shoot a series of energon blasts in the shape of the blue energy wing system built into his nightmare. But Blitzwing maneuvered over the blast and directly over the Raiden to fire a powerful flame blast towards him, but the Raiden quickly transformed to halt in midair and barely missed the blazing inferno. "Way to whiff, Torchy!" Rai called out to the Decepticon who transformed and hovered in the air as well. "The name is Blitzwing, insect," he shouted in his hot-headed persona. "Remember it, because it's the last thing you're gonna hear before Blitzwing quickly shifted to his crazy persona. "Express my feelings in song." The itsy-bitsy spider went up the waterspout. He sang as he shot another condensed heat ray towards Rai, who reacted by extending his Surger Claw to blast a stream of electricity to collide and press against the heat ray. "Well, isn't that shocking?" The maniacal persona of Blitzwing laughed maniacally before changing to his logical persona. "But perhaps it is time to cool down." He quickly changed his heat ray attack to a cryokinetic blast that began to overwhelm Ray's electric attack, forcing him to pull the Raiden up and avoid getting frozen, though his Surger Claw did get frosted over. "What is wrong with that guy?" Rai muttered to himself, referring to Blitzwing's multiple personas. At the same time, Hotshot fired his own energon blasts toward Barricade, who drove in his own vehicle mode around the rookie wrecker before shooting directly at Hotshot, transforming in his robot form to gain momentum and slam a punch across his face to send him crashing into a rock. Hotshot attempted to pick himself up, only for Barricade to press him down with his foot. "You're out of your league, kid," Barricade mocked. "Ya think so?" Hotshot smirked back before transforming into his vehicle mode, catching Barricade off guard before swerving around to trip up the leader of Squadron X. Before Barricade could pull himself up, Hotshot grabbed him by the shoulders to begin punching him across the face. However, Barricade intercepted one punch before flashing the younger bot a death glare, causing Hotshot to gulp before Barricade actually picked him up to slam him toward the ground. Demolishor fired a series of rapid-fire explosive energon blasts from his shoulder cannons at the speedy Wheeljack, who shot toward Demolishor in his vehicle mode before transforming to draw his swords and slice off the cannons on Demolishor's shoulders, the force of the impact sending him rolling across the ground. He attempted to get back up, only for Wheeljack to point one of his blades towards his face. "That all you got?" Wheeljack taunted. "Not even close, Autobot." Demolishor exclaimed as he punched Wheeljack in the chest before grabbing him by his face and throwing him over his shoulder and into the side of the mountain. Along the mountain's side, Nonette flew in her airborne Galician, firing the Varus rifle towards Overload, who simply stood his ground as the blasts hit the area around him. When the dust cleared, Nonette looked in shock to see Overload was barely scratched. "What?" the former Knight of Nine stuttered. Overload chuckled. "My dear, one does not become such a decorated actor by looks alone. I have done battle with even the likes of Optimus Prime himself. So, an extra such as you might not quite cut it for the final act. You wanna cut something, pal? How about this?" The Galician shot toward him, drawing both its MVS to slice toward him, but Overload proved rather quick for someone his side, as he avoided most of the slices before revealing a pair of energon cannons built into his shoulders and firing a powerful blast. Nonette, acting on instinct, attempted to bring up her blaze luminous shield, which took most of the impact, but the Galician was still sent flying in the air before she stabilized herself to shake off the bright spots in her eyes to glare at the Decepticon. You're no Optimus Prime, but you might make for an excellent supporting role. Overload commented. Provided you survive, of course. He resumed fire at the evading Galician. Meanwhile, Grindcore circled around Ground Pounder, both silently the other to make the first move, and it would seem Grindcore would do just that. It's on like Cybertron. He charged toward the slightly taller Decepticon, to throw a punch before Grindcore caught him by the wrist, lifted him above the head, and slamming him down on the ground before pinning him down with one foot. Some wrecker. Ground Pounder mocked. You know how many gladiators and monsters I killed in the pits of Count. Well, you're about to join M. Grindcore growled. I'm gonna make you swallow those words. And your teeth. He quickly pushed himself up to trip up Ground Pounder and knock him back before Grindcore laid a series of punches across his body, sending him crashing into the side of the mountain. But Grindcore wasn't done yet, as he crashed his shoulder into the large gorilla-like Decepticon and began pounding into him, only to feel a sharp pain in his right ankle. Hey! He looked down to see Headlock stab his ankle with a corrosively tipped stinger. Watch where you're stomping, pal. Headlock smirked, which gave Ground Pounder an opening to get back up and deliver an uppercut to send Grindcore hurtling up before crashing back down. Ground Pounder then pinned him to the ground before he could get back up as Headlock showed off his needle again. How about we take out those eyes of yours? Good idea. A female voice shot out as Ground Pounder was hit around the area of his eyes, causing him to yell as he held his face, getting off Grindcore in the process and allowing him to not only slug Ground Pounder and knock him down, but even attempt to stomp on Headlock, who quickly moved back to avoid being crushed. You okay, pal? Chromia asked as she went to Grindcore's side. Pissed off, but alright. Thanks, Chromia. Grindcore smiled. 2-on-1 is hardly fair. Let's fix that, shall we? She smirked as she reloaded her null ray. Grindcore smirked back as they both charged toward the pair of Ground Pounder and Headlock. At the same time, the forest behind them was torn apart by a series of explosions as the respective tank modes of Warpath and Quake swerved to opposite sides, avoiding the deadly explosive blasts that were shot toward the other. Come on, Con. Let's play chicken. Warpath challenged as he shot directly at Quake in his Cybertronian tank mode, still firing energon blasts. Thought you'd never ask. Quake accepted as he mirrored Warpath's actions. Both shot at each other at speeds not possible for normal tanks, still blasting at each other with everything they had, and each avoiding the blast until they got close enough to each other for them both to transform, with Quake brandishing his energon cannon from his arm, and Warpath readying the tank weapon on his chest, both firing at the same time as the blasts made contact, creating an explosion that rocked the whole area. South side of Ontake. Safeguard. Jetstorm. Drift deployed his mini-con students. Find and secure the relic. Now. Yes, Master Drift, they both said at the same time before running toward their target, leaving Drift alone to draw one of his swords and block the axe strike from Onslaught, the two clashing their weapons against the other before Onslaught kicked Drift down. You choose the wrong side, Drift. Onslaught said, ready to bring down his axe, only for the Zangetsu quickly shot at him, slicing its katana weapon at him, forcing Onslaught off his foe as Toto squared off against the Con. Drift, I'll take the leader. Toto told him, help the others. As you wish, but watch yourself. Drift advised him, Onslaught is not to be taken lightly. Noted. Toto acknowledged as Drift transformed to drive away and assist their comrades, leaving the miracle worker alone to face the leader of the Combaticons. Kiyoshiro Toto, also known as the miracle worker of Itsukushima. Onslaught acknowledged, you're someone even the Decepticons are weary of. Glad to hear it. The colonel replied, I'll be sure to put their fears to rest when I bring Megatron your nightmare's head, and your mangled corpse. Onslaught charged the Zangetsu, blocking the axe strike with its katana. Chiba grunted as she could barely block the mace strike from Brawl in her Akatsuki. Trying to get some distance, she pulled her nightmare up into the sky. Don't run away. We're just getting started, Brawl called out as he fired with his dual cannons toward her. Though Chiba could avoid the shots themselves, the resulting shockwave sent her crashing toward the ground. She gave a gasp as she already saw Brawl on top of her Akatsuki. Not much of a challenge, are ya? However, before he could bring his mace down on her, he He was knocked back by a roundhouse kick from Drift as he quickly stood to Chiba's defense. Then perhaps I could be of assistance. He offered a smile to Chiba as she pulled her Akatsuki back up. Thanks, Drift. She smiled before glaring at the recovering Brawl. So, where were we, Khan? She shot her Akatsuki at him alongside her Autobot companion. Swindle fired a series of energon blasts toward the flying Akatsuki piloted by Urabe, who quickly avoided the blasts before returning fire with a pair of slash Harkins, forcing Swindle to jump back and seemingly leaving him vulnerable for Urabe to go on the offensive and strike with his Nightmare's katana, but Swindle quickly maneuvered under the slice to deliver a punch to the Akatsuki's side, followed by a kick to knock it down. Swindle attempted to shoot while it was down, but Urabe actually shot his downed Akatsuki forward to knock Swindle off his feet. Not gonna make it easy for ya, Urabe told him. Swindle gave an impressive whistle as he pulled himself back up. That's one interesting nightmare you got there, you and all your friends. Even by Cybertronian standards, it looks impressive. Tell you what, let me have it and I'll let you go, I'll even split the profits with you once I sell it, 60-40. Urabe chuckled. Didn't know the cons had a con artist. But the name should have been a dead giveaway. He drew his Nightmare's katana once more. The only way you're getting this from me is to pry my dead corpse off its pilot seat. Swindle smiled maliciously. Fine by me. Vortex flew in his helicopter mode, engaging in aerial combat with Asahina's Akatsuki as he opened fire on the youngest of the Holy Swords, who was able to avoid the rapid-fire energon blasts before returning fire with the Akatsuki's wrist-mounted gun. However, Vortex shot himself directly toward Asahina's Nightmare before transforming to unleash a shockwave attack that sent the Nightmare hurtling through the air, but Asahina was able to stabilize himself just in time to bring out his katana and slice at the incoming Vortex in his vehicle mode, almost sending him derailing out of the sky before he stabilized himself. Yano, you're the first one to not only survive my shockwave attack, but also counter me right after. Vortex pointed out. Not bad for a human. Goes to show you shouldn't underestimate us. Asahina commented before re-engaging his enemy in aerial combat. Meanwhile, Senba struggled to get a good shoot at the flying blast-off, whose own jet mode was far faster than his own flying Nightmare could keep up with. He tried to shoot with his Akatsuki's wrist-mounted gun, but every single shot missed. Come on, hold still, Senba exclaimed as he continued to shoot with blast-off literally flying circles around me. What's wrong, meatbag? Can't keep up. Blast-off mocked before blasting directly at the Akatsuki with such speed and force that it was knocked out of the air and sent crashing toward the ground. Senba attempted to pull his Akatsuki back up as blast-off shot toward him again. End of the line for you. Think again. Blast-off was hit with an electromagnetic pulse-type blast from a set of special nunchucks wielded by the Gekka Shiden, causing his vehicle mode to tumble before Blast-off transformed and skidded on his side to quickly get back on his feet. What the heck did you just hit me with? He exclaimed, unable to transform. Electromagnetic nunchucks. You won't be able to transform for a while, Zidane smirked from inside his Nightmare before he drew a pair of dual blades. Let's see how you fight on ground level. He shot his Nightmare at Blast-off, who tried to retaliate by firing his energon pistol at him, but this also left him vulnerable for Senba to slice at him with his Akatsuki's own katana, forcing the Combatacon on the defensive. What's wrong? Can't keep up, Senba mocked, causing Blast-off to growl as he was stuck against the two opponents. Todo sliced his Zangetsu's katana toward Onslaught, who parried it with his own personal axe before kicking the Black Nightmare to knock it back, going on the offensive, which Todo countered by flying into the air to shoot at the Combatacon leader with his Nightmares slash Harkins, forcing Onslaught to roll out of the way and return fire with his own Energon blaster. Todo shot the Zangetsu back toward the ground to meet Onslaught as they collided katana against axe once more, pushing their own strength against the other. Not bad, Todo, Onslaught commented. No wonder you gave Starscream such a headache, but don't think I'm on the same level as that idiot. He delivered a headbutt to the Nightmare, knocking it back, and forcing Todo to quickly flip the Zangetsu to get it back on its feet before shooting forward with its jet propulsion system and deliver an airborne spinning kick to knock Onslaught back down. Don't get too cocky, Todo replied, but he is a powerful opponent. I can't underestimate him. We have it. Toto and even Onslaught's attention was caught by a pair of mini-cons, with Safeguard holding up a rod-like device. "We have found the relic," Jetstorm called out. "Perfect." Onslaught smirked before transforming into his vehicle mode to give pursuit. "Jetstorm. Safeguard. Move." Toto called to them as he tried to stop Onslaught, while the pair of mini-cons ran for their lives with the relic in hand. The Ark Laboratory. Tai suddenly appeared before the group consisting of Nunnally, Sayoko, Kagaya, and Misty. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I seem to be having some sort of technical problem." "What's wrong, Tai?" Kagaya asked. "My data seems to be all mixed up." Tai reported. "The Decepticon enemy database has been relocated to another hard drive to make room for some new file called Nightmare Improvisation, and it seems someone has also been mix-matching all the files I had on Decepticon weapons." "What in the name of the Allspark?" They all heard Ratchet's exclamation as they saw him at a console. "Where is the data on the synthetic energon formula?" "Moved it," Lloyd called out as he worked on his own computer, typing away at breakneck speed. "Where?" Ratchet exclaimed. "Don't remember," Lloyd replied. "Let's see Rakshata and Fixit try to find it now." "Who has been altering the Ark's weapon designs?" Perceptor questioned as he stepped up. "It looks as if somebody wants to invent a massive radiant wave surger for the vessel. We can't employ a weapon like that without severe consequences." "All right, this is officially out of control," Sayoko commented as they looked to see Nina and Ganabati attempting to talk to Rakshata and Fixit respectively, the former working on her own computer, while Fixit was relocating and organizing spare nightmare parts. Nunnally silently agreed as she turned to the holographic girl. "Tai, can you please broadcast my voice across the lab?" Of course. Tai created a holographic megaphone in her hands and hovered it over Nunnally's voice. "All of you, stop what you're doing and get over here. Now," Nunnally shouted, her voice booming loudly through the holographic tool, causing everyone in the lab to look in total surprise, not expecting such an outburst from the young girl. Lloyd, Rakshata, and Fixit slowly walked toward the girl as she spoke again, still using the megaphone. "You three are all important members." Everyone's ears or audio receptors winced. Nunnally realized she was still speaking into the megaphone before turning to Tai, who snapped her fingers, causing it to vanish, and allowing the girl to speak normally. "Of this team, if you keep competing like this, rearranging everything important just because of a childish rivalry, it could put everyone in danger. In case you haven't noticed, we're at war with an enemy that wants to wipe us all out. So, stop fighting like a bunch of toddlers and start working together." The two Autobot scientists, and most of the humans present, looked toward Nunnally in surprise, save for Sayoko, who simply had a proud smile on her face. "I've never seen Nunnally lose her temper before," Nina commented. "I know, I kinda like it." Kagaya smiled. However, for the arguing trio, it seemed like the outburst went in one ear and out the other. "You moved the Lancelot's designs into the same file as the Ark's engine protocols," Lloyd exclaimed to Fixit. "What kind of messed up system is that?" "Alphabetical," Fixit answered, causing Lloyd to look in genuine confusion. "Cybertronian alphabet," the mini-con clarified. "All of my data is going back, where it belongs." Lloyd stormed off in one direction. Rakshata gave a scoff. "Oh, trust me, whatever improvements you've made to the synthetic energon formula is about to be unmade." She walked off in the other with Fixit right behind her. "Seems as though they didn't listen," Perceptor commented. Cecile sighed. "Lloyd's always been one who doesn't like to be shown off." "Sorry Nunnally, but you're no zero," Ratchet told her. Nunnally herself looked disappointed before she gave a gasp. "I have an idea, but I'm going to need everyone's help for this." "What do you have in mind?" Misty asked. "Skies above Ontake." Explosions lit up the sky as the aerial bots and Seekers engaged in an all-out dogfight. Silverbolt gave pursuit of Skywarp, firing a series of missiles at the purple Seeker, who transformed to his robot mode to blast the missiles with a series of energon blasts before transforming to shoot at Silverbolt, turning the hunter into the hunted as Silverbolt flew away. At the same time, Air Raid flew to try and get away from Thundercracker barrage of laser fire, both soaring through the clouds. However, once Thundercracker flew through one cloud, he was surprised to have lost sight of Air Raid. However, Air Raid, in his robot mode, dropped down from above to land on Thundercracker. Gotcha. He pounded on his cockpit area for a bit before Thundercracker zoomed away, forcing Air Raid to grab hold and hang for dear life as the Blue Seeker spun around to try and shake him off. Windblade soared directly for Slipstream. Right as they were about to crash into each other, they both transformed as Windblade slashed with one of her swords, which Slipstream blocked with point-blank energon blast from her wrist, forcing Windblade back as they hovered in the air for the moment. Been a long time, Windblade. Slipstream smirked. I'm actually glad you're here. Still sore about me outclassing you on Velocitron, Slippy. Windblade mocked. You may be faster than me, but I'm the more ruthless warrior. She shot both her hands forward for a barrage of rapid-fire energon blasts, which Windblade attempted to block and parry with her dual swords before transforming to fly away, prompting Slipstream to do the same and give pursuit. Meanwhile, Starscream appeared to be pursuing Jetfire as he shot a pair of missiles at his former comrade, but Jetfire transformed to open fire with his energon blaster and destroy the missiles before shooting at Starscream. Though he did graze his wing, Starscream did fly over Jetfire before transforming to shoot at him with a point-blank energon blast, scoring a hit on his shoulder, but Jetfire wasn't done as he glared at Starscream. Don't tell me that's all you got, Jetfire. Starscream mocked. Has all that time with the Autobots made you soft? Jetfire actually smirked. You're calling me weak. Look at you. Back on Cybertron, you at least had something of an intimidating build. But now, you're about as skinny as a twig. Not all that impressive, Starscream. Starscream growled in response. Blame those filthy humans and their poor vehicle design. No matter, I'm still deadly enough as I am now. Prove it. Jetfire challenged as they re-engaged in aerial combat. Inside the mines, Springload hopped higher and higher along the walls of the mine as the three Akatsukis piloted by Minami, Sugiyama, and Yoshida opened fire on the amphiboid, but he proved quick and nimble enough to avoid all their shots before he leapt from the wall to land in between all three and deliver quick kicks to each nightmare to send skidding back. Deceivers. Unworthies. Springload exclaimed. You shall not keep me from Doritus. What the hell is he talking about? Minami questioned. Don't know, this guy's a real basket case. Sugiyama stated. Eat this, frog boy. Yoshida opened fire, but Springload leapt back before lashing out with his tongue at Yoshida's Akatsuki. The second it hit, his nightmare's cockpit began to melt before it exploded, killing the pilot inside. Yoshida! Minami exclaimed as he and Sugiyama looked in horror before glaring at the frog-like Decepticon. You're dead, Khan. They opened fire at Springload, forcing him to leap back and get some distance. At the same time, Quillfire launched a series of quills from his back at the nightmares piloted by Inoue and Tamaki, forcing the two to scatter as Tamaki opened fire with a volley of missiles from his wrecker Akatsuki. However, Quillfire transformed and drove away to get some distance from the resulting explosion before transforming back to face the two Black Knights. False revolutionaries. Quillfire announced. You cannot stop the Decepticons' glorious reign. Anarchy for all. He launched another volley of quills. Fortunately, the pair were able to avoid it. Geez, this guy makes those overly patriotic Britannians look downright sane. Inoue commented. Buckethead must have a thing for nutjobs. Tamaki stated before addressing the deranged Khan. Guess what, Porcupine? Our revolution is gonna kick yours in the ass. He charged his nightmare forward to ram into Quillfire and send him crashing into the wall. Meanwhile, higher in the shaft, the airborne Agravain hovered, wielding its pair of MVS blades, which Wizard used to block and parry the quick hit and run attacks of the flying Sky Bite in his shark mode, who flew at incredible speeds to try and bite down on the large nightmare, but the Agravain was able to quickly slice with its blades to parry the razor-sharp teeth of the Sharkticon. Having enough of playing defense, Wizard fired all 8 of his nightmares hip-mounted Harkins in all directions, hoping at least one would hit Sky Bite. One did graze him, but it wasn't enough to stop him as Sky Bite transformed to deliver a powerful airborne kick with both his feet and send the Agravain crashing into the wall. Wizard shook off the pain as his nightmare was rocked. My code name is Wizard, and I'm fighting a giant robotic poetry-loving shark. Yeah, more on my life to rethink. I am about to give you one chance, Black Knight. Sky Bite told him as he hovered in the air. Surrender, and you will live. From underneath Wizard's mask, the greenish-blue eyes of Oigro's Zevon narrowed at the Decepticon. Sorry, but I already died before. If I do meet my end, it will be by the hands of those who deserve it the most, and that's not you. He fired both of the Agravain's Hadron cannons, causing Skybite to yelp as he flew up to avoid the devastating blast. Wow, someone's got issues. Skybite noted before transforming into his shark mode and went on the attack again. However, he didn't seem to notice that the Agravain's attack had torn open a hole in the mine, exposing a dark purple cluster of crystals that gave an ominous glow. Back in the skies, Air Raid continued to chase down Thundercracker in their respective jet modes, but so far, it looked like there would be no end in sight for this dogfight. Air Raid also noticed his leader was in a similar position to Skywarp and got an idea. Hey Skywarp, Air Raid called as he stopped pursuing Thundercracker. Here's a joke for you. How many Seekers does it take to change a light bulb? That got the purple Seeker's attention. Answer: none, 'cause they don't even know what a light bulb is. Oh, I'll show you what a light bulb is. The dumbest of the Seekers exclaimed as he charged directly toward Air Raid, who transformed to charge at him in response. Silverbolt realized what he was doing and decided to play along as he flew into some cloud cover. Once they were close enough, Air Raid transformed to shoot an energon blast into Skywarp's rear engine, causing an explosion that sent him screaming and hurtling out of the sky. Skywarp, Thundercracker exclaimed, but this also left him open for Silverbolt to come in and shoot him from his blind spot in the cloud cover, nailing enough shots that sent Thundercracker falling through the clouds as well. Nice shoot. Air Raid saluted his commander. Nice trick, Silverbolt replied with a smirk. Hey, you know me. As the humans say, always the troll. Air Raid smirked back. Back with Starscream and Jetfire, they swerved up and over the clouds, constantly shifting from the positions of Hunter and Hunted as they tried to shoot the other down. However, Jetfire decided that enough was enough as he gunned straight for Starscream at twice his normal speed, and before the Seeker commander could even react, Jetfire transformed to land a solid punch in Starscream's cockpit area, sending him realign and allowing the hovering Autobot to open fire, hitting him multiple times and sending him tumbling down through the clouds. Damn you, Jetfire, Starscream called out as he fell. Damn you. You choose the wrong side, Jetfire said with a serious expression. At the same time, Slipstream hovered in her robot form as she continued to shoot at Windblade, who flew up and around to avoid all the energon blasts. However, it seemed like Slipstream had a target lock. Gotcha. Might wanna rethink that, she gasped upon hearing Silverbolt's voice as both he and Air Raid hovered behind her, aiming their energon blasters toward her head. Likewise, Jetfire and Windblade both hovered in front of her as well. Your teammates are probably halfway to the ground by now, either that or pulling themselves up from the ground. Jetfire told her, you can either surrender or run. Probably the later, 'cause that's all you know how to do, Slippy. Windblade smirked. Slipstream scowled. This isn't over, Autobots. She transformed and flew downwards to retrieve her teammates. Ah yeah, Air Raid pumped his fist. Aerial bots, 1, Seekers, 0. Aerial bots. Toto made contact with them. We need immediate assistance. The Relic is in jeopardy. We're on our way, Silverbolt replied as he and his squadron all transformed into their jet modes to fly back down to assist their allies. Arc, laboratory. Fix it. Lloyd's loud yell echoed throughout the lab as he stormed in, carrying a bowl of white substance. What is this? It's part of your new diet. Fix-It smirked as he rolled up. All that pudding is bad for your physical health. This is a substance that carries the essential nutrients humans need. You're welcome. How do you even know what humans need? You're an alien robot, Lloyd exclaimed. Oh easy, I told him. Rockshata smirked. I also told him about your overly dependence on the childlike desert, so maybe you can finally mature mentally as well as physically. Maybe. Lloyd was fuming, so uncharacteristic for him, it almost looked like steam was about to blow out of his ears. I have tolerated a lot of things from you, Rockshata. He walked up toward her. On one hand, I enjoy competition, it keeps me from getting bored. Building devices to overshadow my own creations is one thing, but messing with my food is a step too far. He swiped her pipe from her, much to her surprise. Smoking is rather bad for your health too. He smirked. Maybe I should replace it with a healthy alternative. Give that back. Rakshata tried to reach for it, but Lloyd kept it from arm's reach. Fix-It also decided to join in for some reason. However, before it could escalate any further. Oh no. All three looked in surprise to see Misty X running toward them with a distressed look on her face. You guys need to come over here. Now. Sensing the emergency, the trio followed her to the far side of the lab where Nunnally, Kagaya, Cecile, Nina, Ganabati, and Sayoko all gathered, all of them having worried looks on their faces as they looked at a Cybertronian weapon. We didn't mean to, Nunnally stuttered, sounding like she was incredibly guilty. I just touched it and, the device gave a loud noise that sounded like it was about to overload. It did that. That's an ion cannon, Fix-It exclaimed. Where are Ratchet and Perceptor? Rakshata asked, getting serious. We don't know. They said they had to leave. Cecile answered. It's a Cybertronian weapon, none of us know how to fix this. Ganabati said. I don't want to risk damaging it. Nina added. Maybe, you guys can. Lloyd and Rakshata kneeled around the weapon as Fix-It looked at with caution. Might be a simple anomaly. Fix-It commented. Or, a systems overload. Lloyd looked more than a little worried. If it's the later, the explosion could be catastrophic. Rakshata said, looking somewhat nervous. It has to be dismantled. To access the ion cannon's inner workings, the outer casing needs to be removed. Fix-It informed. The cannon itself must be kept completely immobile. I can't do it alone, he said toward Lloyd specifically. Lloyd and Rakshata exchanged concerning glances before nodding with serious expressions toward each other. Tell us what to do. Lloyd said. Both of you need to hold each end, and make sure it doesn't move an inch. Fix-It explained. We cannot risk a rupture. Understood. Rakshata nodded as she and Lloyd each held one end of the cannon and kept it as still as possible. Carefully, Fix-It's right arm converted into a small drill as he began to remove the outer casing, making absolutely certain not to damage anything. After a few tense seconds, the outer casing was opened, exposing the inner workings of the weapon. Ammunition casing appears to be stable. Lloyd observed. No damage to the motherboard, either. Rakshata also added. What's the problem? I believe I may have found it. Fix-It noticed a small foreign object lodged in what appeared to be a rotator component. Both of you, keep it completely still. He converted his right hand into a set of pliers as he slowly and carefully grabbed the object. Both Lloyd and Rakshata were beginning to sweat. It wasn't like either of them to show fear, but then again, neither of them had to deal with a potentially dangerous alien weapon exploding in their faces, likely killing them in the process. Fortunately, Fix-It was able to remove the object, and no explosion took place. However, none of them were expecting the foreign object to be a pink hairpin. A hairpin? Lloyd questioned. Wait, I've seen this kind of hairpin before. Fix-It recognized it as they all heard everyone else laughing, along with Tai, who had just appeared as well. Fix-It then noticed it was one of two matching hairpins that Nunnally wore. It didn't take long to deduce what just happened. What kind of stunt? Rakshata questioned. The kind that worked. Kagaya pointed out. The kind that made you three stop arguing and start working together. Nina added. You should have seen the look on your face, Lloyd. Cecile giggled. It was priceless. Fix-It, Lloyd, and Rakshata exchanged surprised glances with each other before giving partial glares to the group. Seems rather reckless to use a highly destructive Cybertronian weapon for something like that. Fix-It lectured. It wasn't actually malfunctioning. Tai told them. The noise came from me. She replayed the noise from her auditory systems. And the weapon is disarmed. Perceptor and Ratchet both revealed themselves, having walked in from the lab. We unloaded its ammunition before this whole thing played out. Perceptor revealed. You really didn't think we'd purposely sabotage a fully armed ion cannon, did you? Ratchet pointed out. You two were also in on this. Lloyd questioned. Better than watching your childish squabbles. Ratchet replied. Though that was entertaining in of itself. Ganabati added. Oh, and it was Nunnally's idea. Sayoko pointed out, with the girl in question merely smirking in confirmation. That's my devious surrogate sister. Kagaya put her elbow on Nunnally's shoulder in congratulatory form. Rakshata couldn't help but chuckle. You, my dear girl, truly are your brother's sister. Thank you. Nunnally maintained her smirk. Lloyd gave a sigh as he pulled himself up. Perhaps, we should fix the mess that we made. Yes, I agree. Fix-It added. And if you'd like, I do have some possible ideas to modify our Nightmare's weapon systems that I'd be interested to share with the both of you. Well, you know I'm always listening to you, Fix-It, but what about you, my dear Asplund? Rakshata turned to the former Britannian scientist. So long as I'm willing to share my own ideas as well, I can keep an open mind. Lloyd replied. A collaboration it is then. Fix-It accepted as the three walked away, leaving the group behind to smirk as many of them exchanged fist bumps with each other. In the case of Cecile with both Nina and Ganabati, even Ratchet sighed in relief. Finally, some peace and quiet. The Autobot medic sounded more than a little satisfied at the outcome. Nunnally, Misty X looked toward her. You are an absolute genius. Thanks, Misty. Nunnally smiled. And I love my new name. She replied. I was wondering, maybe we can be friends. I don't have a whole lot of friends outside Orpheus and Z, so. Nunnally smiled. All you had to do was ask. She pulled the older girl into a surprising hug, which Misty quickly returned. However, once Nunnally was in her arms, she felt a familiar sensation. One she never felt she'd experience again. She looked directly into Misty's face, into her eyes specially. She gasped at what she saw. Though her eyes were a different color, as was her hair, Misty looked almost exactly like Nunnally. Misty looked in confusion once she saw her face. Is something wrong? Oh, no, nothing. Nunnally quickly brushed it off before smiling again. You reminded me of somebody else, that's all. Oh, alright. Misty seemed to accept that as she began to walk away. Nunnally's smile faded once more as she looked in confusion. Her eyes, her hair, they're completely different. Even her voice is different. So, why does being with her feel so much like I'm with Mother? South side of Ontake. Onslaught shot blasts of Energon toward Safeguard and Jetstorm as they tried to run with the Relic. However, Onslaught didn't get much of a chance to keep shooting as Todos Zangetsu shot at him to strike him in the side with a spinning kick before flashing his katana to strike down the leader of the Combatacons, who quickly recovered to bring up his axe and block the attack. You had better stay focused on me. Todo exclaimed as he drove his Nightmare forward, pushing Onslaught into a large rock with the Combatacon leader holding his ground. Combatacons. Onslaught called for his team. Those mini-cons have the Relic. Destroy them. If we can't have it, neither can the Autobots. Immediately, Brawl, Vortex, Blast Off, and Swindle disengaged from their respective battles and transformed to give pursuit of the two mini-cons. Jetstorm. Safeguard. Look out. Chiba called to the mini-cons as they were already cut off by the four Combatacons, who already had their Energon weapons primed at them. They looked in terror, as did the present Black Knights, and especially their teacher. No. Drift shouted as the Combatacons opened fire, Brawl's tank-like weapon being the most destructive, creating a large explosion that seemed like it obliterated the mini-cons, and the Relic in their position. However, when the dust cleared, everyone, Autobot, Human, and Decepticon, all looked in absolute shock to see that the mini-cons were unharmed, both holding out the rod-shaped Relic almost on instinct as it projected a large, bright blue, transparent shield that had blocked the blast and spared the mini-con pair. We're alive. Jetstorm looked in confusion. The Relic, it's a shield generator. Safeguard exclaimed. What the scrap? Brawl exclaimed as he opened fire with multiple Energon blasts from his shoulder cannons, but not a single one made it through the energy shield. Brawl, stop. I know what that weapon is. Swindle told him. It's an experimental force field generator. The same kind that's meant to be used for starships, only downsized for our soldiers to use. It can tank even warship-grade weaponry. Jetstorm and Safeguard looked toward the generator in awe. Such a powerful shield, Jetstorm uttered. It will serve our case, well. Safeguard smirked. Not if we pry it from you first. Vortex was ready to take it by force, only for him and his team to be cut off by the Akatsukis piloted by the four holy swords, Zidin's Gekka Shiden, and an enraged Drift. You'll have to get past us before you do. Zidin declared. Please try. Urabe smirked. I dare ya. Todo even broke off his fight with Onslaught to regroup with the Black Dragon unit while Onslaught regrouped with his own team. Onslaught however chuckled. Don't underestimate us. He turned back to his team. Combatants, combine. Look out below. Everyone heard Windblade's warning as they all saw 4 flying Autobots descend from the sky in their jet mode. Jetstorm. Safeguard. Use the shield and cover us. Drift told his students, sensing what was coming. Yes, Master Drift. They both said simultaneously as they held up the generator to project a dome-like shield over the entire Black Dragon unit just as the aerial bots opened fire with a bombardment of missiles. Brace yourselves. Onslaught warned his team as they tried to get some distance, but the barrage had already hit the area, blasting all the Combatants back as the entire area around this side of the mountain was leveled in less than a minute. The dust cleared out quickly enough, revealing the undamaged energy dome that covered the Black Dragon team, while the Combatants groaned as they struggled to pull themselves up. Though they were alive, each of them had taken a serious amount of damage. Even Onslaught himself held his damaged arm that was leaking plenty of energon, including down the right side of his face. He glared at not only the team they were currently fighting, but also the 4 hovering aerial bots that aimed their weapons at him and his team as well. Your choice, Onslaught. Silverbolt warned. Pick up your team and leave or stay and get blasted. But we're cool if you wanna do the later. Windblade smirked. Onslaught growled, realizing they had lost this fight before accessing his comms. Soundwave, we need a ground bridge. Call of the other Decepticons in the area as well, this mission is lost. A ground bridge portal opened up behind him and his team. Combatants, retreat. With groans of pain and disappointment, the Decepticons entered the portal one by one, with their leader being last as he glared at the heroes. This isn't over. He then glared toward the Zangetsu. Kiyoshiro Todo, I'll be coming for you. Looking forward to it. Todo replied as he saw Onslaught leave. Everyone alright? Jetfire asked those among Black Dragon. We're alright, Asahina replied. Thanks to the 2 little guys. We're honored to be of service. Safeguard smiled humbly. Perhaps you will allow us to partake in these missions again, Master Drift. Jetstorm asked his teacher. Drift wouldn't openly say it, but he was indeed proud of his students. Don't get too overconfident, he told them with a small smile. Meanwhile, on the north side of the mountain, more explosions erupted along the ground and the sky, with no signs of slowing down as the wreckers threw themselves again and again at the equally strong Squadron X. This seemed to be like a case of the unstoppable force clashing against the immovable object as neither side seemed willing to back down. Bulkhead picked up Overload to throw him into the mountain, only to get blasted in the back by Quake's tank mode and sent crashing into the same area. But Quake was rammed and tackled by Hotshot, who shot at him in his vehicle mode before transforming to land a double kick and knock him down before he pounded on his face. Chromia engaged Barricade in hand-to-hand combat, with Chromia throwing a kick toward Barricade, who caught it before throwing Chromia to the side, only for Barricade to get blasted by Ironhide's cannons in response, but Ironhide himself was forced to take cover as Demolisher tried to bombard him with his own Energon blasters. Wheeljack lashed his swords out toward Blitzwing, who ducked underneath the attack, while still in his hot-headed persona to throw a punch and knock him back into the trees. Grindcore tore a tree from the ground and used it as a makeshift weapon to slam at Blackout, but he quickly used his rotator blade to slice through the weapon, but also leaving him open for Grindcore to slug him across the face. Warpath threw a punch toward Ground Pounder, who easily caught it and heaved over to slam him onto the ground. Headlock rode in to try and poke Warpath's eyes out while he was down, but both Decepticons were blasted away by a combined attack from the Varus of Nonet's Galashan and an electric bolt from the Raiden's Surger Claw used by Rai. However, both Nightmares were bombarded by a series of missiles by Lugnet. How long have we been going against these guys? Rai exclaimed. Hard to say, Wheeljack replied as he regrouped with the pair. But they're no pushovers, that's for sure. Rai growled, wanting nothing more than to end this. However, he accidentally activated his Geass, which he was quick to turn off. No, not again, Rai thought to himself as he tried to calm down. I swore to myself I would never use my Geass again. Have to keep emotions in check. Autobots. Black Knights. How dare you continue to stand in the face of the glorious Decepticon race? Lugnet exclaimed. However, before the fighting could resume, Barricade received a transmission, prompting him to growl as he heard the order to retreat. Squadron X, we're falling back. What? But we can still fight. Blitzwing exclaimed in his hot-headed persona before switching to his maniacal one. This party is crazy, and I don't want it to end. Orders from Soundwave. The mission is lost. We're returning to the Nemesis. Barricade told them as a ground bridge portal opened up behind him. Knowing they had no other choice, the Decepticons of Squadron X picked themselves up as they retreated one by one into the portal, all save Lugnut, who glared toward the regrouping group of Autobots and Black Knights. You fools may have won the battle, but the war wages on. Lugnut shouted. All hail the grandeur of Megatron. Just come on. Barricade grabbed him by his arm and pulled the zealous Decepticon into the portal before it closed. Run, you yellow-plated cowards. Hotshot called out. Hey, Bumblebee's yellow. Remember? Bulkhead told him. Oh, right, sorry. Hotshot winced. Not bad work out there, rookie. Chromia patted his shoulder, congratulated. Present company excluded. She joked in the Galatians' direction. Ha, ha. Nonet replied with a half-smirk. Good work, wreckers. Ironhide told them before contacting his fellow squad leaders. Toto, Silverbolt, the cons are retreating. Did we win? Yes, we have the relic. Toto confirmed. It's a Starship-grade shield generator. Silverbolt revealed. Jetfire's already coming up with ways we can use it fix the Ark's own shield systems. I like the sound of that. Meet you guys back at the Ark. Ironhide replied before contacting the Ark itself. TAI, we need a ground bridge, our job here is done. On it. TAI replied before a ground bridge portal of their own opened up in front of them, allowing the wreckers to step inside. However, Bulkhead noticed the Raiden wasn't moving. Hey Rai, you okay in there? He asked his young partner and friend. Yeah, Rai said as he took a deep breath. Felt my Geass turn on for a sec. I know Sarah helped to repress it and all, but. Hey, don't worry. Bulkhead smiled sincerely. You'll get it figured out. We got your back. I know, thanks. Rai smiled before he rolled the Raiden into the portal, followed by the green Autobot before it closed. Inside the mines, while Tamaki and his friends continued to fend off against Springload and Quillfire, Wizard continued to engage Skybite in an aerial duel. When the Agravain sliced with one of its MVS, Skybite caught it with his claw as they hovered in air and pressed their own strength against the other. It's been a while since I had a good one-on-one like this. Skybite commented. Are the other Black Knights as strong as you? I certainly hope so. Wizard said nothing in response as he continued to glare at his adversary. However, he was surprised to see Skybite pulling back. Oh, too bad. Looks like you win. What are you doing? Wizard questioned. Just got a message. Skybite answered. Your team secured the relic, no point in this continuing any further. He transformed into his shark mode and prepared to leave. Help yourself to any energon here. Oh, and the humans are all imprisoned in the third shaft over. You expect me to buy all this? Wizard exclaimed. After everything your kind has pulled. How do we know there isn't some kind of trap where your slaves are supposedly held? Skybite gave a sigh. I don't blame you for thinking that way. Many cons pull that kind of stuff, but not me. I'm shark of my word. You won, so you deserve the reward. Looking forward to facing you again, Black Knight. He flew back down to retrieve his comrades. Quillfire, Springload, were leaving. He maneuvered underneath each of them to carry them on his back as he flew straight up toward the exit at the top of the shaft. No. Doradus calls to me. Springload called out as he was pulled away. For the revolution. Quillfire's voice echoed as they all vanished, leaving the Black Knights confused. Okay, not what I expected. Tamaki commented. Even Wizard looked confused from inside the Agravain's cockpit as he took off his mask, revealing the face of the man named Oigros Zevon, the face and identify he had not shared with anyone in the Black Knights, Autobots, or even his fellow agents in Peace Mark. Seems odd, to face an honest Decepticon. He gave a wincing smile. Oh, who am I to talk about honesty? The look of shame on his eyes was as visible as daylight as he thought about the remaining members of his family. Though he knew his nephew was safe as a fellow Black Knight, and a competent pilot, he heard nothing of his nieces She, Maribel, and the rest of the Glinda Knights dropped off the radar completely since Britannia fell. A part of him wanted to reveal his identity to all of his allies, new and old, and what he knew about the Geass Order as well, but he couldn't bring himself to do it without revealing all his past sins, and he wasn't quite ready for that yet. Orpheus, Uldren, Olivia, I'm sorry. He muttered before his nightmare's sensors picked up something odd. Curiosity taking hold, he hovered his agravain up toward a large hole he previously made in the wall with his hadron cannon and spotted the dark purple crystals inside. What's this? The Ark. As Ironhide, Silverbolt, Toto, and Wizard were on the bridge to give their report to Optimus, Zero, Ultra Magnus, and Ogi, everyone else in the mission had gone their separate ways to get some rest and recuperation. Bulkhead, Grindcore, Rye, and Nonette walked in one hallway adjacent to the bridge when they heard one of their names being called. Hey, Grindcore. They turned around to see Suzaku as well as Euphemia address the Autobot in question. I just wanted to say thanks for your advice earlier. Suzaku began. You told me to. Wow, some people, I think I pulled it off. He most certainly did. Yuffie confirmed. You'll have to tell us all about it. Nonette said with a smile. Your mission sounds like it went well. It did. Suzaku confirmed before turning back to Grindcore. What you said to me, it really helped, so thanks, Teamy. He finished with a smile. Grindcore gave a toothy grin. Teamy, he exclaimed excitedly. Quick, get back in your nightmare. Suzaku looked in confusion. Why? So, I can hug ya without crushing ya. Grindcore exclaimed with his wide grin. Pretty sure you'd turn even the Lancelot into a tin can if you tried hugging it. Bulkhead cracked. Sounds like someone I know. Rai joked toward Bulkhead, who waved it off as the group chuckled. Even Suzaku got a good laugh out of it, causing Yuffie to smile brightly. I don't think I've seen Suzaku laugh like this. It really suits him. Yuffie then found herself looking towards Nonette, who gave a half-cocked grin and a raised eyebrow, reading through Yuffie's expression, causing her to blush with a smile, silently confirming her relationship status with Suzaku as Nonette smirked and gave a thumbs up in response. A shield generator. Lelouch said upon him and the rest of the leadership receiving the report. We'll definitely put that to use. The science division is already working on it. Silverbolt informed. Jetfire is even helping out too. Excellent work. Optimus nodded. However, the appearance of the Combatticons is quite disturbing. Are they really that bad? Ogi asked. They're among Megatron's top-tier soldiers in the Decepticon ranks. Ultra Magnus explained. The 5 of them together could take down a small army if they wanted to. With Onslaught leading them, they are a force to be reckoned with. They even caused massive damage to the Ark just before we came here. Ironhide added. Be glad those guys didn't get pulled into the portal with us, or Megatron could have just taken over Britannia, and probably the rest of the Earth, right as he landed on this rock. It took the entire Black Dragon unit as well as the aerial bots to beat them back. Toto commented. And I have the feeling they weren't even fighting as seriously at the time. Optimus, is it true that these Combatticons are capable of combining with each other? Lelouch asked. Yes. Optimus confirmed. They form the combiner known as Bruticus, and he is one of Megatron's most devastating weapons. Is the ability to combine common among Cybertronians? Wizard asked. Can any of us here pull it off? No. Ultra Magnus shook his head. Only a select few have the ability to combine with others, it's not common at all. Those among us that can combine require the rest of their team, which we do not have. The aerial bots could do it. Silverbolt said. But it's just me and Air Raid right now, Jetfire and Windblade can't combine with us. We were separated from the rest of our team when Cybertron went dark. They either didn't pick up your signal, Optimus, or they're not with us anymore. There was a mourning silence with the group before Lelouch spoke again. So, just hypothetically speaking, we can't have a team of, say, Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Strongarm, and Grindcore combine. What made you come up with that combination? Ironhide asked with a raised eyebrow. Just guessing. Lelouch shrugged. No, such a combiner would be impossible. Optimus replied. None of them have the ability. So, for humans it's like a gene that's inherited. Ogi tried to guess. Something like that. Silverbolt replied. It's hard to explain. Can we do something like that with our nightmares? Wizard asked. 5 of which are able to transform. Only because those were made from Cybertronian protoforms. Ultra Magnus replied. The odds of our nightmares learning such an ability is unlikely. If we're to possess the Forge of Solus Prime, however, could we do it? Lelouch asked Optimus specifically. Given the forge's mystical nature, I wouldn't say it's an impossible task. Optimus replied. However, as we do not have the forge, we cannot put it to use. I understand. Lelouch nodded. Only making suggestions because we will retrieve the forge. Even if Megatron can't use it now, I'm not comfortable at all with leaving a powerful relic like that with him. Agreed. Everyone else, save Wizard, all responded. Wizard then spoke up. Optimus, Zero, there is something else you should know. Everyone directed their attention to him as Toto, Ironhide, and Silverbolt all winced as they knew what he was talking about. After we rescued all the slaves from the Ontake mine, we found something else other than Energon. What did you find? Optimus asked. Ironhide had a grim expression as he answered. Dark Energon. The Nemesis. Starscream, Onslaught, Skybite, and Barricade all kneeled apologetically toward their leader, as well as his silent surveillance chief, as they reported their mission failure. Disappointing. Megatron noted. An advanced piece of technology, as well as another mine lost. Humble apologies, Lord Megatron. Skybite bowed. Though he didn't regret accepting defeat from the enemy, he wasn't pleased in disappointing his leader. The Autobots and their human allies have grown significantly. Starscream reported. They have even acquired air forces of their own. Even I underestimated them, but it won't happen again. Onslaught added. Next time I swear, we will. Barricade tried to speak as well. Enough. Megatron interrupted. You are all dismissed, he said before turning around, much to their confusion. It wasn't like Megatron to not dish out any kind of punishment for failure. Master. Even Starscream looked rather confused. I said dismissed. Megatron insisted, much more firmly, causing the four kneeling Decepticons to bow their heads before standing up and leaving the bridge. Megatron then turned toward his surveillance chief. Contact Shockwave. Soundwave nodded as he accessed the Nemesis communications to make contact with the Geass order. The screen lit up to show the emotionless optic of Shockwave as he addressed his leader. Yes, Lord Megatron. I require a progress report, Shockwave. Megatron told him. As you wish. Shockwave nodded. Assimilation of the Geass order into the Decepticon ranks is 98.736% complete. All unnecessary Geass specimens have been disposed of. Pluton's Nightmare's Haven been significantly upgraded. The cloned organic bio-integrated systems function most effectively with Dark Energon, enabling you to maintain full control upon their deployment. Good. What of the remaining Dark Knights? Megatron asked. Just the two former Knights of the Round aren't good enough. Nebulos remains the most prominent member. Shockwave responded. No cybernetic enhancements required. Orange's new system is operating at 99.82 capacity. And Refrain's integration into his system is at optimal efficacy as well. Even VV has proven to be useful. In addition, the Dark Knight Headmasters are also ready for deployment. And what of the Dark Queen? Megatron asked. I trust that is proceeding according to my specifications. Indeed. Shockwave confirmed. The Dark Queen is ready to be deployed whenever you desire. Good. Prepare her and the Dark Knights for deployment. Megatron told him. The Autobots and Black Knights have indeed grown stronger. But now it is time to show them just how much we've grown. He finished with a sneer as his dark Geass began to glow ominously. Spark of darkness. Nunnally, Shirley, Euphemia, Rivals, and Millie, who had Arthur in her arms, had walked into the laboratory of the Ark where they were surprised to see the Autobots of Optimus, Ratchet, Perceptor, Elita 1, and even Jetfire gathered. Along with Lelouch, Sarah, Suzaku, Cornelia, Toto, Kagaya, Toto, Wizard, and Ogi with Fixit, Nina, Lloyd, Rakshata, and Cecile all standing on a catwalk that put them on equal level with the Autobots as they all faced a large containment cube on the far side of the lab. Hey, what's going on? Millie asked as they walked up the steps to join the other humans, and the orange minicon beside them. Oh, just a little experiment with this Devil Energon stuff. Lloyd said casually. This is nothing to joke about, Asplund. Ratchet told him sternly. Yeah, I get it. Lloyd waved off. This is the same stuff that destroyed Cybertron. This caught the attention of the former Ashford students as well as Euphemia. I understand that, but I don't get why this experiment has to be contained like this. The group looked inside to see there was a nightmare, just an ordinary barai, stationed within the containment cube, with a series of tubes attached to it from the ceiling. Because we can't take any chances. Jetfire said. I've worked with Dark Energon before, and it's not something to be taken lightly. Dark Energon. Shirley looked in surprise. As in, the same substance that Megatron used to destroy Cybertron. Yuffie asked with concern. And what gave him his Dark Geass? Yes. Sarah confirmed. What? Where did we even get it? Nunnally asked, looking toward her brother, but Wizard was the one to provide an answer. Mateem and I found it on our last mission to liberate an Energon mine. The masked leader of Peace Mark replied. We had it transported to the Ark immediately. Rakshata and the others wanted to work on it immediately, but Ratchet and Jetfire insisted otherwise. Lelouch explained. So, we're conducting a test to show them why we can't take any chances with it. Didn't you guys say it was supposed to be the blood of an alien devil or something? Rivals questioned. Unicron, the Chaos Bringer. Optimus confirmed. Well, I still think all that's a bit far-fetched. Lloyd said. I agree. Rakshata said. Transforming alien robots are one thing, but I'm not one to consider the existence of gods or devils. Hopefully, you'll see otherwise once we conduct this test. Perceptor said as he looked toward Optimus, who nodded to give him permission. With a deep and nervous breath, Perceptor took out a small vial of liquid Dark Energon and placed it in a transfer machine built into the cube and began the process. Everyone looked with either curiosity or suspense as they saw the purple liquid transfer into the cube, down the tubes, and directly into the nightmare like an IV. After a few seconds, nothing happened. But then suddenly, its inner wiring began to shine a bright purple before its face opened up to reveal a serrated mouth as the nightmare gave a shrill roar and moved on its own, smashing its body against the containment cube. All the present Autobots looked with either cautious or serious expressions, except Fixit, who was visibly scared. As for the humans, Wizard, Toto, Ogi, and Cornelia looked in absolute shock. Even Sarah was caught off guard. Nunnally was visibly terrified as she clung to her brother, who held her close as he looked with worry toward the nightmare-turned monster. Cecile, Shirley, Nina, and Millie covered their mouths in shock and terror. Even Euphemia clung to Suzaku, who held her close as well as he also eyed the creature with visible fear. Even Lloyd and Rakshata were more shocked than they'd ever been in their lives. Even Arthur hissed at the monster on the other side of the glass. Holy shit! Tamaki exclaimed. What the hell is that? Rivals also exclaimed. The monster snarled at the Autobots and humans beyond the cube as it banged its arms, whole body, and even its head against the glass in an attempt to shatter it and get to them. Fortunately, the containment cube held up. That thing, what are we even looking at? Shirley practically screamed. Like a demon straight out of hell. Toto's eyes narrowed. Just as Dark Energon brings destruction wherever it lays, Optimus began. Anything brought to life, if you can call it that, by the substance seeks the same thing, destruction. Its only instinct is to wipe out any and all life that lays before it. The monster continued to bang its head on a single point on the glass, and it was starting to crack a bit. It's going to break out. Suzaku said with worry. Ratchet however pressed the necessary commands on the cube, causing a bright blue light to shine throughout the insides of the containment unit, forcing everyone to shield their eyes before the light vanished. One look inside, and the monster nightmare was nothing more than a pile of rubble. What was that? Ogi questioned. Just before the war began, Starscream and I worked together in a station for the sole purpose of studying Dark Energon. Jetfire revealed. We tried to test it on a machine to see if it could serve as a fuel source, but the result was much like what you've all seen. Heck, one experiment went so wrong, it blew apart an entire section of the station. These things that come to life from Dark Energon were given the designation Terracons. Still think it's all just a bunch of fantasy, Lloyd. Cecile looked toward him, as he still had a shocked expression on his face. I've been wrong before, Lloyd admitted, not taking his eyes off the pile of rubble. Please tell me there's a way to destroy it. Rakshata said in an uncharacteristically scared tone. There is. Fixit confirmed. Through the exposure of an equal or greater amount of natural energon, Dark Energon can be purged. Anything less will only corrupt the natural energon. What if we used synthetic energon? Nina asked. Out of the question. Ratchet quickly rebutted. The atomic structure of synthetic energon is not like natural energon. There is a far greater chance of corruption if that is used with dark energon. Destroy it, Lelouch said immediately. All the dark energon that we've acquired, I want it all destroyed. Not a single trace can be allowed to remain. Consider it done. Jetfire nodded. Hey Lelouch, Optimus, Suzaku got their attention. You said dark energon was found on Cybertron, so, why would there be some here? On Earth? That is a good and disturbing question. Optimus responded. Maybe it was just stored at that mine. Shirley suggested. If that's the case, are there any other storage sites out there that we have to consider? Alita asked. Cornelia groaned. First, we have those Yakin relics to deal with, now this. T.I. Is there a way for us to track dark energon? Lelouch asked as the holographic AI appeared before them. I'm sorry, but I can't. TAI reported. Even if I had the time to analyze the molecular structure and energy signature of dark energon, it's not like locating natural energon. I can only locate large deposits. Locating anything small like what was found by Wizard's group is almost impossible. With that, everyone present looked with concern and even fear. They already knew Megatron had access to dark energon, which was how he was able to obtain his dark Geass. But to know there might be more of it on Earth, not to mention seeing what else it was capable of, really added to the gravity of their current situation. Make sure all our forces are aware of this. Optimus told the group. If any more dark energon is found on any of our missions, it is to be destroyed immediately. Sometime later, Lelouch sat alone in the living quarters of the bridge, overlooking a datapad that contained footage of Megatron's various battles against the forces of the Autobots and Black Knights. As he continued to look, an uneasy expression formed on his face. A part of him felt like putting it away, but he pushed himself to keep observing, determined to find some kind of weakness, but so far, he had found none. Hey! He heard Colin's voice as he turned in surprise to see not only her, but also Nunnally, looking toward him with concern. It's really bad for your eyes to keep staring at that. I'm fine. Lelouch dismissed as he tried to continue looking at the datapad, but Colin quickly came in and swiped it away. Lelouch, you need to give yourself a break. Colin told him. She's right, big brother. Even Nunnally agreed. I understand what you're trying to do, but Megatron is without question the greatest threat we're facing. Lelouch began. Not only is he more cunning than my late father and Schneisel combined, not to mention he is an absolute monster on the battlefield. And now he has dark energon. We've all seen what that can do. He sighed in exasperation as he threw the datapad down before placing a hand on his face. I can't beat him. I just can't. Of course, you can't. Colin said, causing him to look toward her in surprise. You yourself just listed all the reasons he's smart and tough, so of course you can't beat him. At least not by yourself. Isn't that the whole point of all of this? She gestured to the arc around her. It's part of being a team, so we don't all have to bear the burden alone. And you're not alone, Lelouch. Nunnally said as she walked over and sat down next to him. We're all here for you. I know what Megatron did to you was horrible. You've been having nightmares for these last 6 months, and don't deny it, I can sometimes hear you screaming late at night. When you have someone look inside your head to bring out your worst fears, and then replay those fears over and over with the intent of killing you, it's going to leave an impression. Lelouch commented, making no effort to hide that he had been experiencing nightmares. You're afraid of him, Colin pointed out. And I don't blame you, hell even I'm afraid, especially after what Nunnally and the others just told me about what happened at the lab. Robot zombies. Are you kidding? Look, the point is, you're not alone. She sat down next to him as well, on the opposite side of Nunnally. You've got friends, even family. You've got me, too. While he was truly grateful for both their support, it didn't seem to deter what he was feeling at the moment. Well, either of you have any ideas on how to handle him? Because I'm open to suggestions. Here's an idea. They looked up to see Alita One glancing toward them. Play on your own strengths. You're a strategist, aren't you, Lelouch? Well, use that. Yes, we've seen that you've been improving as a pilot, particularly thanks to Toto and Ironhide, but you're more of a commander than a fighter. Use your strengths, use the people who are willing to follow and help. Put Megatron in a situation where he has to go on the defensive. You've done that kind of thing before, haven't you? Hell yeah, that was what you did with Clovis way back in Shinjuku. Colin pointed out. Don't play in Megatron's hands, get him to play in yours. If there's one thing you're good at, it's turning the tables on people. Nunnally added. This seemed to help a bit, reminding Lelouch again just how grateful he was for all their support. Thank you, all of you. Nunnally hugged him on the side in response while Colin just playfully shoved his other side. He then looked towards the pink Autobot in front of him. Can I ask you something, Alita? Sure, what is it? Back when we're fighting for the Forge of Solus Prime, Megatron called you Ariel. Why is that? Lelouch asked as even Colin and Nunnally looked with curiosity. Alita sighed, partly expecting this. Ariel was my original name before the war for Cybertron. Before I was a soldier, I worked in manual labor among the lower class. One day, I met Optimus, or rather Orion Pax. He came down the Cybertrons, lower caste cities to get a better understanding of how big a difference it was compared to higher class areas like Yakan. He said how he's been wanting to change the system and I ended up joining him. You worked alongside Optimus? Nunnally asked with an eager smile as Lelouch and Colin also listened. I did. Alita confirmed. Along with Ratchet, Ultra Magnus, Alpha Trion and others. Her look faded into a sour expression. Including Megatron. Lelouch, Nunnally, and Colin had unsurprised yet serious expressions on their faces, but continued to listen, nonetheless. I really thought he truly wanted to change Cybertron for the better, and I admired his strength and determination. We were friends. But, once the Council was more willing to opt for Orion's peaceful approach, as opposed to Megatron's forceful response, and with the start of the war, the Megatron I thought I knew no longer existed. But, did you try to at least stop him? Nunnally asked again. I did, many times. Just as Orion and later, Optimus, did. Alita replied. But each and every time, he tried to convince me to join him. Before the war started, I changed my name to Alita 1, but he still called me Ariel. He told me that it was important not to forget our origins, but now, it's like he calls me that just to throw it all back in my face. Bastard. Colin muttered. We all know he's evil, but that's just petty. I agree. Alita. Which is why I try to ignore his words, and whatever mind games he tries to play on me. I know it's hard, given what he's done, what he's going to do, but we need to push through. She spoke to Lelouch directly. We let our actions define us, not our words. Lelouch could tell what she was saying to him, and it was something he appreciated, while also gaining a newfound respect for Alita, understanding why Optimus worked so well alongside her. Thank you, Alita. And, if Megatron didn't ruin everything, I think you and Optimus would have made Cybertron a peaceful place. Yes, I'd like to think so too. Alita smiled reminiscently, with Colin and Nunnally easily able to read the expression on her face, causing the two to look toward each other with smirks. However, a small alarm suddenly turned on, getting their attention as Optimus Prime also entered the bridge of the Ark. Ta-I, what is it? Optimus questioned as the holographic girl appeared in the air. It's a high-frequency signal, with an embedded message. TAI revealed. For you, Optimus. Is it more Autobots? Possible reinforcements? Lelouch asked. No, it's from here on Earth and it's from Megatron. TAI responded, causing Nunnally to gasp slightly while Lelouch, Optimus, Alita, and Colin's eyes all narrowed while TAI read the message aloud. We've been running in circles with each other long enough, old friend. I believe it is time we settle this. Meet me at these coordinates. Colin scoffed. Who does he think he is? It's obviously a trap. Of course, it is. Optimus agreed. Nevertheless, I fear that whatever trap Megatron has could place more innocents in danger. Optimus, are you actually going to meet him? Lelouch questioned. What exactly are you expecting? I am uncertain, but this must be addressed. Optimus confirmed. However, I will not be going alone. Alita, Colin, assemble the Zero Squad. Understood. Alita nodded. Yes sir. Colin saluted. I'm coming too. Lelouch also stood up. You might need a little assistance from a fellow commander just in case. Very well. Optimus accepted. Lelouch, Nunnally grabbed his hand with a nervous expression. She knew that he was going to try and push himself to face his fears, which she admired, but that didn't make her any less nervous. Please be careful. I will. Lelouch assured his sister. A single ground bridge opened up as Optimus was the first to exit, alongside Lelouch within the Shinkiro. Right behind them was the Zero Squad, led by Elita 1, consisting of Bumblebee, RC, and Sideswipe, with the Lancelot, Gurren, and Byakuin, piloted by Suzaku, Colin, and Orpheus respectively. Many of them looked in surprise to see that their destination was none other than the ruins of the Tokyo settlement. Even with 6 months, it was as if nothing changed. The entire city was still in ruins from the Black Rebellion, with countless wrecks from nightmares, vehicles, and massive weapons, and the occasional Viacon corpse. Any human remains that were exposed had begun rotting away as flies buzzed around them. The settlement was nothing short of a graveyard now. Hard to believe this used to be a bustling city. RC commented, getting a sense of déjà vu from viewing the ruins of Cybertron. I hated Britannia and the settlement, Colin added. But I didn't think they'd deserve this. So many people died here, Suzaku muttered, clenching the controls of his nightmare in anger at the handiwork of the Decepticons. I've heard what had happened here 6 months ago, Orpheus said. But, actually seeing it, all that's happened, it's something else. Must have been one hell of a battle. Sideswipe added. Lelouch said nothing as he felt a huge wave of guilt set in. Though this was directly the work of the Decepticons, he couldn't help but feel responsible for all of this. He was the one who started the Black Rebellion because of Megatron's orchestration of the Saz massacre, but even then, the rebellion itself was nothing more than a distraction, and Lelouch cursed himself for not seeing it sooner. We'll make sure they didn't die in vain, Bumblebee said. I agree. Optimus spoke. What happened here was a tragedy, and we will see to it that it does not repeat. First, we need to find the one who invited us here. Elita said. However, right as she said that they all heard the roaring of an engine, causing them all to look toward the sky to see a familiar silver Cybertronian jet fly toward the top of a ruined building before it transformed to reveal himself as the Decepticon they all knew and loathed. Optimus, I'm glad you accepted my invitation, Megatron called down to him. Though I did not say that you could bring company, I'm not particularly upset. To the contrary, I'm glad you did. It gives me the opportunity to catch up with an old friend, wouldn't you agree, Ariel? Elita glared up toward him with Colin already reading her nightmare for a fight. Why don't you invite him down here for a chat? The redhead snarled as her Gurren Surger claw was primed and ready. Why did you call us here, Megatron? Optimus questioned. Because I've been wanting to show you something, old friend. Megatron answered. Something that I believe may be the last thing you see. He pulled out a dark purple crystal that they all recognized. Is that? RC questioned. Dark Energon, Lelouch exclaimed. Megatron hurled the crystal toward the ruined battlefield below. The second it made contact, it sunk into the ground before crevices spread across the area, a dark and haunting purple glow emanating from the ever-growing cracks as Optimus, Lelouch, and each of the Zero Squad looked in shock, a sinking feeling forming as they had an idea of what was going to happen next. The Decepticon leader's optics began to glow a bright purple as he felt the power surge. Rise my army, he commanded. Suddenly, a metallic hand shot from the ground as a Viacon corpse arose to life, or rather an undead state. By the Allspark, Elita muttered. Oh my God. Colin looked in genuine horror, with everyone else. Every Viacon corpse, every wrecked nightmare, every destroyed vehicle, be it civilian or military grade, virtually every large piece of machinery arose, taking the form of humanoid metallic Terracons that numbered in the thousands, maybe even more so. All those that died or were destroyed in the Black Rebellion had now come back as undead monsters. Behold, Megatron bellowed, the power of Dark Energon. What kind of horror show is this? Sideswipe exclaimed. Britannia, no, not even the Geass Order has done something as sinister as this. Orpheus muttered. How could he? Suzaku's visibly terror-filled face morphed into one of rage. He's not even allowing the dead to rest. He's desecrated them. No, this is worse than desecration. Not even the dead are free from his warmongering. Optimus stated. Though he appeared to maintain a calm and serious expression, Lelouch could tell there was a burning rage in Optimus' spark, one that mirrored his own feelings of rage, but there was also a great sense of terror in Lelouch as he glanced up to the smirking Megatron who now controlled an army of the undead. At last, symbiosis, I can feel it. Megatron said to himself. I possess complete control over my army, of course, not just the ones that lay before me. He then commanded his legion of Terracons. Destroy them. Immediately, Optimus opened fire with his energon blasters on the frontmost Terracons. Zero, take the squad and return to the Ark. And leave you here against all of that. Lelouch exclaimed. No, I'm staying here with you, Optimus. We all are. Elita 1 stepped up as well, her energon blasters primed and ready. We can't let a single Terracon roam free. Zero squad form up. Open fire. Roger. All the members of the Zero squad acknowledged their commander as they opened fire as well. Lelouch was the first to attack with the Shinkiro's chest-mounted cannon. It shot a prism forward first before firing a laser into the prism, causing the laser to disperse and cut multiple lines through the undead hordes. Suzaku added to this with the Lancelot's Varus rifle, firing multiple charged shots, with Colin charging an attack with the Gurren's Surger Claw to throw a series of energy sphere with explosive results. The explosion cleared out a large portion of the frontmost Terracons, but they barely made a dent in the entire army. However, as the smoke cleared, the Byakuin rolled out alongside the vehicle modes of Bumblebee, RC, and Sideswipe. The White Nightmare attacked first, drawing a blade from its 7-type armament's right arm to slice one Terracon in half down the middle as RC, Bumblebee, and Sideswipe all transformed around him to open fire with their energon blasters, scoring in headshots, but even those didn't seem to take down the Terracons that surrounded them. Sideswipe chose to get personal as he drew his sword to cut down one Terracon before moving on to the other. As he did, he noticed that the severed pieces stopped moving. Guys, we need cut them down. The smaller the pieces, the better. Sideswipe told the rest of his comrades. Understood. Elita acknowledged before drawing her arm blades to engage 3 Terracons in front of her. She decapitated one before swiping her feet to knock the remaining 2, right as she jumped and landed her feet onto the heads of both of them, destroying them instantly. Everyone, don't allow yourselves to get separated. Lelouch ordered. Stick in groups of 2 or more. Don't let yourselves get overwhelmed. He covered Optimus as he fired the Shinkiro's wrist-mounted Hadron cannons to obliterate a group of Terracons. As he was approached from behind, Optimus quickly came into Lelouch's defense, drawing his blades to slice and cut down 4 of them at breakneck pace. One tried to bring down a long piece of metallic rubble as a makeshift weapon, but Optimus blocked it before impaling the Terracon in its chest, and up its head to destroy it. The Prime and Shinkiro came back to back as they found themselves almost surrounded but had more than enough firepower to keep each other safe. Colin threw out her Surger to launch a wave of radiation that fried a small group of Terracons. Though the frontmost were obliterated, those in the back were merely burnt and continued pressing forward, prompting Colin to draw her Gurren's MVS knife to cut them down. RC drove around her in her motorcycle form as several Terracons attempted to surround her, but RC swerved her vehicle mode to trip them all up before transforming and jumping to land on the Gurren's top and fire precise energon shots at each of their heads. RC, hang on, we're taking to the air. Colin told her partner as the Gurren flew straight up with RC keeping herself pressed on the Gurren's top. Colin activated her energy wing system to fire a hail of energy bolts directly at the Terracons below with explosive results. I'm sure glad these things can't fly. She commented. Colin, dive. RC warned as they just barely dodged a powerful dark blast, causing them to look in shock at the source. Is that a Reiko? It was true. It appeared to be the damaged body of a Reiko, now turned Terracon monster, with its face serving as the main cannon that fired at them again, causing the Gurren to veer away as RC barely hung on. Hang on, I'm coming, Suzaku exclaimed as he shot another Varus blast through a line of Terracons, and into the side of the Reiko Terracon, causing it to tilt over, but it was still alive as it turned its attention toward Suzaku. This left it open for Bumblebee to drive in with his vehicle mode through the path Suzaku cleared for him before he transformed, drew his katana, and cut down the other side, allowing Suzaku to fly in and finish it off with a Varus shot into its mouth cannon, causing it to go up in flames. Sideswipe used his sword to cut down another Terracon as he came back to back with the Byakuin as Orpheus lunged its electric weapon into one Terracon. This attack didn't even slow it down at first, but not before Orpheus turned up the power, causing it to explode. Conventional methods aren't working against these things. Orpheus scowled as he and Sideswipe found themselves surrounded. However, salvation came in the form of Alita as she moved with such speed and agility, cutting down the Terracons that stood in her way before coming to assist the pair, firing her energon blasters into the heads of 4 Terracons, lightening the load quite a bit. "We can't hold out like this," Sideswipe told Alita. "You're right, we need backup." Alita agreed. "The Ark, the bridge." This is Alita 1 reporting. Requesting immediate assistance. Alita's report came in through the Ark system as Ogi, Ironhide, Ratchet, and Ultra Magnus received the alert, with Nunnally, Euphemia, Shirley, Rai, Sarah, Nina, and Rivals all present as well. "TAI. What is happening?" Ultra Magnus questioned. "Hang on, I'm patching into the visual systems of the Shinkiro." TAI brought up the visual feed of the ongoing battle against the Terracons for everyone to see, and to say they were shocked would be an understatement. "By the Allspark," Ratchet muttered in shock. Are those?" Shirley stuttered. "Terracons," Sarah finished with narrowed eyes. Lelouch, Suzaku, Nunnally thought in fear as she shared a concerning glance with Euphemia. "Well, what are we waiting for? We have to help them," Rivals exclaimed. "And we will," Ultra Magnus confirmed as he turned to the Ark's AI. "TAI, assemble the Black Knights and a select few Autobots. I will provide you with the list of squads and members for deployment." "Understood." TAI nodded. As the gathered commanders quickly made the necessary preparations, Nunnally quickly grabbed Ray's arm once she saw that the Immortal was about to leave. "Rai, is there something I can do?" "I'm sorry Nunnally, but you're not getting involved in this, none of you are," Rai said with finality, turning toward the rest of his classmates and other sister. When it looked like they were about to protest, he continued to speak. "This isn't like what happened with Steeljaw, even then that was far too dangerous for all of you. We have an army of freaking zombies led by a genocidal maniac. None of you are going and that is final." "He's right," Sarah agreed. "If anything happened to any of you, Lelouch, Suzaku, Colin, none of them would forgive themselves." "But we can." Millie tried to protest, but Euphemia put a hand on her shoulder. "They're right. We're not fighters," Euphi said. "We would only get in the way, especially with something like that." Rivals rubbed the back of his neck in annoyance. "Yeah, we wouldn't last 10 seconds out there." Even Shirley agreed, reminded of how she tried to help during the incident with the data cylinder, which almost cost them all Bulkhead. "Rai, Sarah, you just come back, with everyone else, please." Rai and Sarah shared smiles as the former gave the brunette a quick hug, along with his pink-haired half-sister. "We'll be fine. We've got good people and bots watching our backs." He turned toward Sarah. "Let's go." "Right." She nodded as they quickly made their way from the bridge alongside the present Autobots, leaving only the former princess and students alone as they turned toward the main screen and continued to watch as the Terracons continued their rampage. Back on the battlefield, Optimus, Zero, and the whole Zero squad regrouped as they tried to gain some distance from the horde of Terracons, firing their long-range weapons to try and thin the horde. Though the more explosive variants of the Varus, Hadron, and Surger Claw had done more damage than the likes of Energon blasters or Slash Harkins, it seemed like they were barely making a dent. "How many of these things are there?" Sideswipe exclaimed. "We're basically fighting every Britannian soldier, Black Knight, and Decepticon that died here." Lelouch replied. "I'd estimate a couple thousand at least." "Where's our damn backup?" Colin shouted. "You called." They heard Geass speaking over the comms. 4 ground bridge portals opened across the battlefield and around the Terracon horde. From the portal on the east side, with Ultra Magnus at the lead, alongside Geass, Prowl, the custom Vincent piloted by Cornelia, with a unit of a dozen Black Knight Akatsuki units. From the south, Ironhide led Bulkhead, Rai, Nonet, each in the Raiden and Galashan respectively, along with Tamaki's heavily armored Akatsukis with several more Wrecker Black Knights. On the west, Toto and the 4 Holy Swords in their respective Zangetsu and Command Akatsukis, along with Drift and Zidane in his Gekka Shiden. From the sky above, Jetfire flew out along with Sarah in her pink Akatsuki, Ogi in his Gawain Narian, and several airborne Black Knight units. "Now that's what I call a cavalry," RC commented with a relieved smirk. "We cannot let down our guard," Optimus instructed as he contacted their reinforcements. These Terracons will not fall under conventional means. You must maintain a safe distance. Heavy ordnance is highly recommended. The smaller the pieces, the better. Zero added. Don't let yourselves get separated. Stick with your unit, or in groups of 2 or more. Roger. They all replied as multiple explosions lit up across the horde. That's our cue, Alita stated. Time to press on. She led the charge with the Zero Squad alongside Optimus and the Shinkiro, blowing away the Terracons that laid in front of them. From above, Jetfire led the attack with his aerial unit as he flew closer toward the horde in his jet mode, firing a series of rapid-fire energon blasts to cleave away a large portion of the horde in the center. Ogi, Sarah, you and everyone else concentrate your fire at this area. Jetfire ordered as he flew back up. Break them up at the center. You heard the man. Everyone open fire. Ogi exclaimed as he transformed his Gawain into its hovering tank form to blast a powerful energon shot at the horde with Chera's pink Akatsuki, and the other airborne units firing down as well to obliterate the central spot of the Terracon horde. On the east side, Ultra Magnus had brought his energon hammer down onto a Terracon to crush it before he noticed an old ruined building nearby that could provide some aid. Jazz, do you believe you can bring that building down? Ultra Magnus asked the Autobot, who glanced toward the tipping building. Shoot, yeah, but I might need some time. Jazz confirmed. All units, cover Jazz. Ultra Magnus ordered, form a perimeter around that building, do not let a single Terracon breach it. Roger. Cornelia accepted as she along with the present Black Knights formed a perimeter around the building, facing the horde of Terracons. Empty your guns if you have to. Mow these monsters down, she exclaimed as she opened fire with her Vincent's rifle, followed by the Akatsukis. The frontmost Terracons were cut down, but those in the back continued to press forward, as the assault seemed to only slow them down. Magnus, give me a boost. Prowl exclaimed to his commander. Ultra Magnus simply nodded as he allowed Prowl to hop onto his hammer before vaulting him into the air. While airborne, Prowl threw a hail of shurikens out from his fingers to slice and cut down the heads of 5 Terracons, clearing a space out for him as he landed on his hands before kicking his feet out with a split and spun around like a helicopter to knock several down before he transformed and regrouped with Magnus, Cornelia, and their unit. Where is Jazz with that plan of his? Prowl questioned. Inside the building, Jazz was in his vehicle mode as Undertone stood on the hood, observing the torn support beams at the building's foundation. You thinking what I'm thinking, little dude? Jazz asked his mini-con partner, who drew a long blade that shined brightly with energon. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Jazz said enthusiastically as he drove toward the nearest support beam, which Undertone cut down easily enough. They repeated the process, swerving forward and around each and every support beam, cutting them down as the building already began to tip over. Magnus, you and everyone might wanna bail. It's about to timber. Jazz warned over the comms. Everyone, clear out. Ultra Magnus ordered as they could already see the building beginning to tip. He and Prowl both transformed and drove away with Cornelia and their soldiers right behind. Jazz joined them quickly enough as the entire building soon collapsed and fell on its side, crushing a large portion of the Terracon horde underneath. That was rather reckless, Cornelia noted. Something my brother and the rest of the wreckers would do. Hey, it worked, didn't it? Jazz commented. Plus, it wasn't my idea. He transformed and glanced towards Magnus with a smirk. Guess working with the wreckers on Cybertron rubbed off on ya, Commander. Unusual circumstances require unusual methods. Ultra Magnus commented. But we're not done yet. Understood. Prowl was the first to get serious as they pressed forward. At the same time, Cornelia couldn't help but express concern to both Lelouch and Rai, though she was certain Lelouch would be safe with Optimus and the Zero Squad, as well as Rai with the Wreckers. It didn't deter her inner big sister instincts and the worry she had for her younger siblings. Speaking of Rai, he gave a warrior's yell as he cut down one Terracon with the Raiden's katana before flashing his Surger claw to shoot a condensed bolt of electricity that obliterated the two in front. However, the ones that were behind were only singed as they continued to press on, despite losing a limb or two. Ah, this is why I hate zombies, Rai said in frustration. Then it's time to bring out the heavy artillery, Nonette exclaimed as she and Bulkhead joined Ray's side and brought out their respective long-range weapons. The Galicians Varus obliterated a large portion of the horde in front of them, while a charged shot from Bulkhead's cannons took out the rest, but there were several more coming in from behind. "Any time, Ironhide," Bulkhead called out to the veteran Autobot as he and Tamaki's Wrecker unit was on a hilltop above them. "All right Wreckers, time to rain fire and steel. Fire all long-ranged weapons," Ironhide ordered. "Hell yeah, eat this, you undead freaks," Tamaki exclaimed as he and the heavily armored Akatsukis fired a large volley of missiles, along with Ironhide who shot with his cannons. Once they hit, a long line of fire erupted where the Terracons once stood, obliterating them in an instant. Meanwhile, Drift moved with such speed and grace, that he seemed like a breeze in the wind as he moved with his dual katanas around a group of 7 Terracons before sliding past them. Less than a second later, they all fell apart like scrap metal. "Master Drift, please allow us to assist," Jetstorm said as he and Safeguard were still undeployed. "No. Battling Decepticons are one thing, but these abominations are another story altogether." "But Master," Jetstrom attempted to protest. "We understand, Master," Safeguard assured. "I'm sure you know what's best." Despite that, Drift still appeared to be surrounded on all sides by several more Terracons. Fortunately, the 4 Holy Swords and Zedine slid forward with just as much grace, cutting down the Terracons at their midsection and legs, aiming for the limbs to immobilize them before crushing their heads. "Hey, what's the deal?" Urabe questioned after he decapitated one Terracon, only to see it was still moving. "I thought if you cut of the head, the zombie dies," he said as his Akatsuki sliced down to cut the Terracon in half. "This isn't a movie, Urabe. It's real life," Chiba commented as she covered Zedine, whose Shiden's dual blades cut down 2 Terracons in front of him. "We're fighting alongside alien robots against an army of robot zombies and you say it's real life," Urabe said with a half grin and raised eyebrow. "Just focus on the battle," Todo exclaimed as he hovered above them, firing the Zangetsu's missile launcher to blast a long line through the Terracon horde. "Leave nothing of these monsters." "Roger," Asahina and Senba both said as they also cut down the remaining Terracons around them. From his vantage point, Megatron watched with amusement as his Terracon horde had almost been completely wiped out, save for a third. "Oh dear, it looks like they've wiped out my main attack force," he mused seemingly to himself. "But that's quite alright. After all, these mindless monstrosities were only a test to see if I can control my real soldiers. Wouldn't you agree, Shockwave?" "Indeed," Shockwave responded over the comms. "Observation concludes that you are able to control any and all units infused with Dark Energon. Meaning, the Dark Pawns should be under your complete control, as well as Refrain and the Dark Queen. The Headmaster units, as well as the Dark Knights and maintain their own free will, but I've seen to it that they will only serve you." "I trust you have the coordinates then, Shockwave?" Megatron asked. "Affirmative, we are deploying now," the Decepticon scientist responded before hanging up. Megatron chuckled evilly. "Let the real battle begin." The Black Dragon unit had wiped a large portion of the Terracons on their side as they regrouped. "This area appears to be clear, Colonel," Chiba reported to Todo. "I trust the rest will mop up what's left of these abominations." "Excellent," Todo nodded. "Let's try and we have a ground bridge," Drift exclaimed as a portal opened up in front of the group. "It is not ours." He drew his blades as the 5 nightmares around him readied their weapons, but they were all blown back by a powerful energon blast that shot out through the portal. The source of the blast was a dark purple Cybertronian tank that rolled out of the vortex before transforming to reveal itself to be none other than Shockwave, and he was not alone. Alongside him were 4 odd-looking robotic beings. They were humanoid, very similar designs to that of the Vincent Nightmare with a black and purple paint job, and a Decepticon emblem at the chest. Their heads appeared to stick out the most as they had no faces whatsoever, no eyes, no mouths, nothing. Their heads appeared to be completely round and blank spheres, almost like the top of a pawn piece in chess. There was one more that emerged from the portal that stuck out to the rest. It was a dark purple humanoid robot, with black armored plating along its chest, shoulder, and headpiece. It also carried a set of double Gatling guns into each of its arms. Within its head, however, was a human girl in her teenage years. She wore a black suit with the Decepticon emblem on its chest, that had a series of plugs and cables connecting her to the cockpit's walls as she stood up. She had dark blonde hair, blue eyes, and what appeared to be a Geass emblem on her forehead. Dark Knight Headmaster, codename, Land. Reporting for battle. She reported as Shockwave and his quartet of Dark Pawns faced the recovering Black Dragon unit. Your continued attempt at defiance is most illogical, the Decepticon scientist said to his enemies. Another ground bridge portal opened above the wreckers' party as they found themselves facing 3 Dark Pawns that fell down from the portal, with another Dark Knight Headmaster unit falling down from behind to land on the ground. This unit was of similar color scheme with dark purple and black armored plating along its chest, shoulder, and headpiece. What made this one stood out was its arms that carried weapons that resembled the jaws of a dragon. Within its head was another young girl that wore the same kind of bodysuit that had her plugged directly into the cockpit. She had dark skin with green eyes, with dark blonde hair tied in a bow, and a Geass emblem on her forehead. Dark Knight Headmaster, codename, Power. Ready for battle, she stated as a hovering nightmare, looking near identical to the Galahad appeared before the groundbridge portal closed. Only this nightmare had a similar color scheme to the other Pluton nightmares. Hello Kaiserin, the immortal known as VV said with a sneer as he glanced at the Raiden. Did you miss me? Hearing that voice was enough to make Ray's teeth grit as he glared at the dark Galahad. Versus V. Those among the elite guard glanced forward to an open ground bridge portal as 3 Dark Pawns came rushing out. Right behind them was a black and dark purple version of the transformed Siegfried, with its pilot being the brainwashed and cybernetic Jeremiah, who was plugged directly into the giant and towering nightmare. Who's ready to die, for the glory of Megatron? Jeremiah exclaimed maniacally. Jeremiah, Cornelia recognized his voice as she looked with genuine concern. But he wasn't the only one. The last nightmare to exit before the ground bridge closed was another Headmaster unit. Same purple and black color scheme, but it didn't appear to have any other special features compared to the others seen thus far, save for a pair of dual blades in its hands. The pilot inside was a young woman with black hair, red eyes, fair skin, and a Geass emblem on her forehead. She also wore the same kind of plug suit as her fellow Headmasters. Dark Knight Headmaster, codename, Order. Prepared for combat, she said as Ultra Magnus, Geass, and Prowl readied themselves. In front of the hovering group that consisted of Jetfire, Sarah in her pink Akatsuki, and Ogi in his Gawain Narian was yet another groundbridge portal. Only 2 enemy units appeared to exit, however. The first one was nearly all black as it bore bat-like wings and carried a double-bladed energon scythe in its hands. Within its head cockpit was a single human head and a nervous system that appeared to be wired thoroughly into this unit's nervous and skeletal system. Both his eyes glowed the Geass sigil as it saw everything from the optics of its robotic body. Dark Knight Unit, codename, Refrain. Targets sighted. Chera's pupils shrank as she recognized the voice. Mao. The second hovering unit actually bore a dark red color scheme, making it stand out from all the other Pluton variant nightmares. On its back was a set of dragon-like wings, a sword built into its right arm, and a serrated chain-like whip built into its left arm. The pilot inside did not bear any kind of plug-in bodysuits or physical upgrades of his own because he was the best-trained killer of the Geass Order despite his age. Dark Knight Neburos reporting in. The young boy with brown hair and violet eyes said as he identified the 3 enemies in front of him. Autobots and Black Knights are to be exterminated. Target code name CC is to be captured alive. By order of Shockwave. Meanwhile, Optimus, Zero, and the entire Zero Squad unit found themselves facing their own group of opponents as they exited the groundbridge portal. There were 4 Dark Pawns present, alongside the Dark Mordred, piloted by Anya, whom unbeknownst to anyone was still under the influence of a vengeful Marianne. 2 units however were unidentified. One bore a striking resemblance to the Excalibur Nightmare piloted by the late Charles Z. Britannia, only its gold and white color scheme was replaced with silver and dark purple, with the black central cockpit remaining black as usual. The final unit was another Headmaster unit. It was dark purple with black armored plating along its arms, shoulders, chest, and head. It also carried a set of Pegasus-like wings on its back, only they were black as opposed to the expected white. Inside the head was another young girl with a bodysuit that had her plugged into the cockpit. She had long blonde hair tied in pigtails with red eyes, fair skin, and a Geass emblem on her forehead as well. Dark Knight Headmaster, codename, Speed. Ready for combat, she reported. What are these things? RC questioned, referring to the Dark Pawns in particular as Optimus, Lelouch, Suzaku, and Colin found themselves glancing toward the Dark Mordred knowing who was piloting inside. Anya, Suzaku thought with concern, one that was shared by his friends and leader. These are mine and Shockwave's latest experiments. Megatron explained as he addressed them from his vantage point. Did you really think this an ambush with the Terracons? No, that was merely a test. As you can imagine, Optimus, dark energon flows through my veins, which has allowed me to completely control multiple targets infused with the same substance such as those Terracons, and now my dark pawns. They are neither Nightmare nor Cybertronian, but rather robotic drones operating with a very special programmed code. What did you do, Megatron? Optimus glared toward the Decepticon leader he once considered his friend. Shockwave extracted the genetic material of Britannia's most elite knights of the round throughout its history. Megatron responded. Bismarck Waldstein, Christoph Chamberlain, Victoria of the Void, Olivia Zevon, and many others. Mother. Orpheus muttered in surprise. Though he did not really know his mother personally, as he was given away at birth per the Zevon's tradition of using female successors, he was still more than shocked. He combined their genetic material into a single batch and converted into digital code, which he then programmed directly into these machines. Megatron continued. They contain the memories, experiences, and combat data of their donors, and through the use of dark energon, not only are they able to access this in abundance, but I also have complete control over them. This earned heated glares from every present Autobot and Black Knight. It's no surprise you're desecrating the dead. Suzaku growled. But what about? These are my headmasters. Megatron continued, referring to the speed, as well as power, land, and order throughout the battlefield. Some of the best soldiers of the Geass Order with some modifications. As for this one, he glanced toward the dark version of the Excalibur. She is my Dark Queen, and she is something truly special. Now then, enough talk, destroy them. With that, the Dark Pawns, Speed, and Dark Queen, along with the Dark Mordred engaged the heroes. Marianne gunned straight for Optimus with the Dark Mordred, crashing into him and sending him rolling across the ground before he got back up and grappled with the charging Dark Mordred, with its possessed pilot yelling as she continued to push with the Mordred's float system to try and push Optimus back. Optimus! Alita exclaimed, only to find herself on the defensive from Speed as it shot at her at incredible speeds, knocking her back. But she quickly slid to her feet and opened fire with her energon blasters, but Speed moved at an insane level of speed with her wings glowing brightly. She quickly appeared behind Alita with a kick to her back, knocking her down once more before Alita got back up and was forced on the defensive from this particular headmaster. Lelouch found himself backed into a corner as he shot into the air with the Shinkiro, the Dark Queen gunning straight for him, firing its shoulder-mounted Hadron cannons directly at him. Fortunately, he activated the Blaze Luminous shield in time, which took most of the impact, but it still rocked his nightmare all the same. Hang on, Lelouch, Colin shouted as the Gurren and Lancelot flew in to provide backup. Colin was the first to attack, throwing out her Surger Claw. But the Dark Queen quickly turned around to deliver a kick and knock the claw away before punching the Gurren's face to knock it back and launch 5 chest-mounted Harkins at her, which Colin instinctively tried to block with her MVS knife right as Suzaku flew in to provide backup with a swing from his MVS, but the Dark Queen brought up its right arm to project an energy shield to block the attack before delivering an airborne roundhouse to knock her down. Bumblebee threw out a punch toward one Dark Pawn, only for it to block and parry with a thrust to Bumblebee's chest before following through with a roundhouse to knock him down. RC tried to shoot her energon blasters at a second Dark Pawn, but it backflipped to avoid her blasts before leaping high into the air to launch a flying kick in her direction, forcing RC to flip back and avoid the impact. Sideswipe brought down his sword to slice at one Dark Pawn, only for the pawn to clap it in between his hands, right before it fell back, pulling Sideswipe down with him and kicking both his feet up to send Sideswipe over him and crashing onto the ground, where he regrouped with his fellow Autobots. These things are tough, Sideswipe commented. No duh, RC replied. How's that gonna help us take them down? I'm thinking. I'm thinking, Sideswipe exclaimed. Well, you better think faster. Bumblebee stated as he drew his katana. At the same time, Orpheus faced the fourth Dark Pawn of this group, lashing out with the Byakuin's taser weapon, but the Dark Pawn limboed underneath it before delivering a punch to the White Nightmare's chest, knocking it off balance before dealing a kick to its side to knock it down. Orpheus grunted in frustration as he saw the Dark Pawn rushing at him before he even had a chance to get up. Acting on instinct, he activated the Byakuin's Gefjin blaster from its head, which shot a condensed beam straight at the Dark Pawn, scoring a hit, causing it to short-circuit and render it immobile. Well, what do you know? Orpheus smirked as he quickly drew the Byakuin's blade from its right arm to cut it half and destroy it. Not so tough now, are ya? Back with the Black Dragon unit, each of the 4 holy swords duped it out with one of the 4 Dark Pawns present. Even with their weapons such as their Akatsuki's guns or katanas, the Dark Pawns proved too quick for their weapons to deal any damage and were fast enough to come in and deliver strikes in the form of punches, palm strikes, or kicks to knock each of the holy swords back. Zidane, meanwhile, was on the defensive from Land's onslaught of Energon Gatling guns, which kept him at a distance and from attacking. He tried to maneuver his Gekka Shiden and appear behind Land's blind spot, but the Headmaster could actually see everything around her in the form of a 3-dimensional map, including behind her where a normal human wouldn't be able to see. Its arms spun around, despite its back facing the Gekka Shiden, and opened fire, hitting the Purple Nightmare and forcing it further back. Damn it! How the hell does this thing move like that? Zidane complained as he re-engaged. At the same time, Drift sliced one of his katanas toward Shockwave, who blocked it with his armed cannon before dealing a punch to knock the Autobot down. Toto provided backup by flying straight down to lash his Zangetsu's katana, but Shockwave swerved around the attack as the Zangetsu flew past him, prompting Shockwave to grab the Nightmare by the leg and throw it into the recovering Drift. Shockwave approached the pair as they tried to recover. He quickly aimed his cannon to finish them off. However, Jetstorm and Safeguard leapt from their master in a surprise attack to engage Shockwave. Actually, catching the Decepticon scientist by surprise as they lashed their weapons at his face, before attacking further. "You will not harm our teacher," Jetstorm exclaimed as he was the first to leap toward Shockwave with his nunchucks, but Shockwave grabbed the Mini-Con with one hand and glared at him. "This is no place for an adolescent Mini-Con," Shockwave commented before throwing Jetstorm down hard onto the ground. Jetstorm. Safeguard attempted to run to his friend's aid, only to look in surprise and terror as Shockwave aimed his Energon cannon directly at him and was ready to exterminate him. Fortunately, Drift had already recovered as he leapt with a kick to Shockwave's chest to knock him back. But Shockwave quickly steadied himself to fire his cannon at Drift, but the Zangetsu flew in the projectile's path, where a pair of capsules appeared on its shoulders and activated a radiant wave to serve as a shield and block the blast. Using a radiation wave as a shield, Shockwave observed. Illogical, but effective. He then resumed his fire at the group as they scattered to avoid the blasts. "Fire! Fire!" Tamaki exclaimed as he and the Wrecker Akatsukis practically unloaded on the trio of Dark Pawns that proved fast and quick enough to avoid all the explosive weaponry that was shot at them before moving in close. The Akatsukis attempted to defend themselves, but the Dark Pawns delivered powerful strikes to the Nightmare's vulnerable areas to disable or destroy them. Already half of Tamaki's unit was taken down. What the hell are these freaking things? One Dark Pawn had leapt toward him and was about to strike with its fist, but it was suddenly blasted from behind and obliterated by the Galatian's Varus. "Don't let them get too close to you," Nonet warned. "Keep your distance. Stay in the air." She shot her Galatian into the air for emphasis. "You heard the lady. Everyone into the air," Tamaki ordered as his Akatsuki, followed by the survivors, flew into the air to resume fire at the remaining Dark Pawns, putting them on the defensive. Ironhide threw a punch to the heavily armored Headmaster named Power, but the outer shell actually took the punch before throwing a strike of her own to the veteran Autobot's face, which was powerful enough to send him rolling back. He quickly got up and fired with his Energon cannons, but Power brought her Nightmare's armored arms together to generate a powerful shield that blocked most of Ironhide's attacks. She then shot out of the dust and knocked down Ironhide with a backhand before lunging with its jaw-like weapon, which Ironhide was forced to hold back with both his hands. However, Power's seemingly limitless strength was too much for Ironhide as the weapon inched closer. Fortunately, Ironhide quickly aimed his right cannon at Power's feet and fired, knocking it down before he got back up and decked a punch to its head and knocked the entire unit down to the ground. Just what the hell has Megatron been doing? Where did he get something like you? Ironhide questioned as he aimed his cannon at the downed Power, prompting whoever was inside it to stand down. But she didn't listen as she quickly brought up her left jaw-like weapon to knock Ironhide back. Rai gave a yell as lashed out with the Raiden's katana to clash with the MVS from the Dark Galahad, both nightmares hovering in the air as their weapons locked. The Geass sigil glowing brightly in Ray's eyes as he gave a death glare to the immortal pilot inside. "What's with the hostility, Kaiserin? I thought you'd be happy to see me again." VV mocked. "After all, I'm the reason you're even here." "Shut up," Rai yelled as he threw out his Surger Claw, but the Dark Galahad withdrew back slightly to avoid the attack before lashing out with its sword to knock the Raiden back. "You murdered my family. You took everything from me. All I did was give you your Geass." VV told him. "You were the one who told everyone else to fight. So tell me, how did it feel to kill your mom and sister?" That earned another roar from Rai as he recklessly shot at the Dark Galahad, but VV was able to swiftly move around it and deliver a kick to its back as VV looked on with a taunting grin. Quote, "You know, I've actually been watching you during your time at Ashford, and I noticed you spend a lot of time with that cute girl. Shirley, I think her name was." VV continued, which only seemed to further enrage the former prince. "How's about when we're done here, I pay her a visit? I won't kill her right away, but she'd make a nice toy for me to play with." Rai roared even further, shooting at VV with breakneck speed again, but VV anticipated this as he maneuvered the Dark Galahad around the Raiden again, lifted its blade to bring down onto the Raiden's back, right as Rai instinctively brought his Nightmare's katana up to block it, but the impact still sent the Blue Nightmare crashing to the ground. "Damn you," Rai grunted as he tried to pull the Raiden up, but looked in shock to see the Dark Galahad racing toward him. "This is what you deserve for backing out of our contract," VV told him. "Now you're gonna." Suddenly, Bulkhead appeared to ram his shoulder and side into the Galahad, sending it rolling across the ground. "What?" VV exclaimed as Bulkhead rushed him again, bringing his mace down hard onto the Dark Galahad's face before aiming his Energon cannon into its chest for a charged shot that sent him crashing backwards. "Bulkhead." Rai looked in surprise as his Autobot friend walked toward him and helped the Raiden stand back up. "You okay, partner?" Bulkhead asked with concern. "Yeah, thanks." Rai smiled, having calmed down. Bulkhead smiled back. "I get why you hate this little bastard, that's why I'm gonna help you kick his tailpipe. Friends watch each other's backs, right?" Rai smirked in response, "Right. Friends." They heard VV exclaim as the Dark Galahad picked itself up. "He turned his back on me and Charles. He doesn't deserve friends. I was about to same to you, you little shit." Rai glared, but this time, keeping his anger in check as he channeled it toward his immortal nemesis. "Somebody should have spanked your ass a long time ago," Bulkhead told VV. "So, we're gonna do it right now." He and the Raiden both charged at the Dark Galahad, ready to tear it to pieces. Cornelia grunted as her custom Vincent was knocked back by an airborne roundhouse from a Dark Pawn. She fired her Nightmare's rifle at it, but the Dark Pawn backflipped to avoid the bullets as she continued to shoot, hopping to get some distance from it. She also glanced to her right to see the rest of her unit was almost completely torn apart by the remaining two Dark Pawns. "Come on, these things have to have some kind of weakness," she grunted in frustration. "All hail Megatron," Jeremiah exclaimed as the Dark Siegfried brought both its fists down toward Geass, Smokescreen, and Undertone, but the three proved quick enough to roll out of the way and avoid the crushing blow. "Dude, you know how many times I heard that track?" Geass questioned as he activated his grappler straight for the Dark Siegfried's head, pulling him straight up to land a kick and knock the giant mech down to the ground. "Too many." However, Jeremiah grunted as he quickly pulled the Dark Siegfried up to sweep a kick, which Geass avoided by sliding backwards. However, Prowl ran towards its back and threw a series of shurikens, scoring direct hits, and prompting the Dark Siegfried to turn around and lash out a powerful punch. Prowl was able to flip back and avoid it, right as the fist hit the ground. However, Undertone leapt toward the arm and quickly ran toward the shoulder before leaping, quickly pulling out his bladed staff to jam right into the Dark Siegfried's neck, but the large impact generated a powerful electric shockwave from its body, zapping Undertone and sending him flying. Fortunately, Geass launched his grappler to catch his mini-con partner and pull him to safety. "Yo Prowl, got an ideas on how to take this thing down?" "'Cause I don't." "Perhaps," Prowl replied. "Just keep avoiding his attacks a little while longer. I'll let you know when to strike. Till then we just play tag." "Got it." Geass nodded as he and Prowl both transformed and began to drive literal circles around the giant machine in an attempt to confuse it, which seemed to be working as the cybernetic Jeremiah was having trouble locking onto one single target. At the same time, the Headmaster designated Order crossed her blades to catch the Energon hammer that was swung down by Ultra Magnus before Order delivered a kick to Magnus' chest area, causing him to stumble back, right as she rushed his side and sliced toward him to knock him down. She tried to bring both her swords down onto him, but Ultra Magnus quickly transformed and drove away to gain some distance before transforming back and opening fire with his Energon blasters, but Order flew into the air to avoid each and every blast shot at her. "It's like they're able to anticipate my movements," Magnus contemplated as he continued to fire at her, while also analyzing her as she avoided the attacks. "Is this the work of a Geass? Either way, I have a feeling this won't be an easy fight." Meanwhile, in the air, Jetfire and the Gawain Narian shot directly toward Neburos, who didn't seem the least bit worried. "I don't think so." The Geass sigil in both of his eyes activated, projecting an invisible sphere of red energy, causing both Jetfire and Ogi's Nightmare to halt in their tracks, a red ring forming in Ogi's eyes while a subtle red glow formed in Jetfire's optics. "Prepare to be terminated." Neburos was about to bring his sword down on Jetfire first, but the pink Akatsuki flew into the sphere, completely unaffected to block the attack with its katana and deliver a strike to knock the Red Nightmare back, breaking his Geass hold over Ogi and Jetfire. "Hold on, what?" Ogi questioned as he and Jetfire blinked in confusion. "What happened?" Jetfire also questioned. "Ogi, Jetfire, I'll handle him," Sarah told them as she faced Neburos. "He has Geass, but it won't affect me. You just keep the other one busy." "Are you sure?" Jetfire asked. "Yes," Sarah confirmed. "But be careful, that's Mao." That took Ogi by surprise. "The mind reader. But I thought he was dead." "So did I," Sarah said with a hint of regret in her voice. "Just keep him busy, I'll deal with this one, then help you." "Understood." Jetfire acknowledged before he and the Gawain Narian flew off to engage Refrain in aerial combat, leaving Sarah alone with the Geass Order's top assassin. "CC. I have been ordered to bring you back with me," Neburos said stoically. "Rollo, also known as Neburos," Sarah began. "You were practically raised by VV in the Geass Order, you have a higher kill count than any other Geass agent within the organization. Your Geass allows you to halt one's perception of time. But I didn't expect it to be powerful enough to affect Cybertronians. Regardless, it won't affect me." "Correct," Neburos confirmed. "My Geass has become stronger from both VV's training as well as Shockwave's experiments, though I required the least amount of attention compared to everyone else, especially the Headmasters. While it's true my Geass cannot affect you, I can still kill you, at least temporarily, and bring you back to the Order. I'd like to see you try." Chera's eyes narrowed as she readied her Nightmare for battle. At the same time, Refrain unleashed its Energon scythe toward Jetfire, flew back to avoid it before opening fire with his Energon blaster, but Refrain was able to see it coming as he flew backwards, apparently to where the Gawain Narian had transformed into its hover tank mode for a point-blank shot, but right as Ogi fired, Refrain flew directly upward, causing the shoot to head towards Jetfire, who just barely limboed underneath the blast. "We're not getting anywhere like this," Jetfire exclaimed. "Is he still able to read our minds?" Ogi questioned as he quickly brought up his blade to block Refrain's scythe attack, with Jetfire opening fire toward him, but Refrain was already prepared as he hovered backwards and avoided the blast. "This is going to be a problem." Jetfire looked more than a little annoyed. Optimus held the Dark Mordred back as he looked toward the cockpit. Though he could not see who was inside, he knew who the pilot was as he thought with a serious expression. "My Prime Geass did not work before, why is that? Unless, is there another Geass in play? Something forcing her to fight?" "Die, Optimus Prime," Anya, under the possession of Marianne, exclaimed. However, her eyes widened as the red ring blinked and changed into a white ring. What am I doing? For a moment, it looked as if Anya was regaining control of her body. But the red ring of Marianne's control formed back as the girl held her head in pain, stopping her attack as she felt an invasive force inside her mind. No, I'm in control. You can't. Marianne struggled as the red and white glow seemed to fight against each other. The effects of Optimus Prime Geass from before seemed to strengthen Anya's will as she tried to fight back. For a moment, she had actually gained control of her body as she saw the face of Optimus through her nightmare's screen. Optimus Prime. Anya begged as tears were forming in her eyes. Help me, please. I'm not. She felt the invasive spirit inside struggling against her, but Optimus was still able to hear her plea all the same. Oz. Optimus called to Orpheus as the Byakuin rolled toward him. Immobilize her nightmare. Quickly. You got it. Orpheus activated his nightmare's head-mounted Gefgen blaster to strike the Dark Mordred from the back, which not only immobilized the entire enemy nightmare, but also sent a powerful shock that knocked Anya inside unconscious. What was going on over here? Anya Alstrime was fighting for control. Optimus tried to explain, even though he wasn't completely sure himself. Likely the effect of a Geass, but this will keep her immobile for the time being. Orpheus, I want you to assist Bumblebee, RC, and Sideswipe, I'll aid the others. Understood. Orpheus said as he and the Prime moved in to assist their allies. Orpheus was the first to reach the Autobot trio as they engaged the remaining 3 Dark Pawns before firing a hail of bullets towards them, forcing the Dark Pawns back as he regrouped with the Autobots. At the same time, the Shinkiro was knocked back slightly as the Dark Queen hovered over him, only for the mysterious machine to quickly bring up a shielding system on both sides as the Lancelot and Gurren tried to strike from the left and right sides respectively. Not far from this confrontation, Alita was knocked down by a zooming strike from speed that sent her rolling close towards the downed Shinkiro as Lelouch glared up toward the smirking Megatron who remained on his vantage point. However, before Colin and Suzaku would be pushed back by the Dark Queen, Optimus quickly rolled up in his vehicle mode before transforming and leaping straight up to grab the Dark Queen by its foot and used the gathered momentum to hurtle it towards speed at such speed that the Headmaster was unable to dodge it as the Dark Queen smashed into it. Optimus! Lelouch exclaimed with a relieved smile, something shared by Alita, Suzaku, and Colin. Alita, you and I will deal with these two. Optimus told his fellow Autobot. Zero, you, Suzaku, and Colin will handle Megatron. What? Lelouch was more than a little shocked, but the Prime wasn't finished speaking yet. Think for a moment. Optimus began. Megatron is controlling many of the enemy units gathered here, yet he himself has not joined the fray. Why is that? Lelouch's eyes widened as it suddenly clicked for him. He can't do both. That's why he was testing it before with the Terracons and didn't attack back then either. If he's defending himself, a smirk fell on his face. It'll probably be difficult for him to control his puppets simultaneously. Understood. Lelouch nodded. Suzaku, Colin, with me. He shot the Shinkiro toward the Decepticon leader with the Lancelot and Gurren right behind him as Optimus and Alita joined together to face the recovering Dark Queen in speed. Look at this. Alita smirked reminiscently. The two of us standing together again, it sure feels like old times, doesn't it? Indeed. Optimus agreed with a reminiscent smile before Speed was the first to fly directly toward them. But Optimus anticipated this as he grabbed Alita's hands and spun her around for her to deliver a powerful kick with the gathered momentum to intercept and slam into Speed's face and send her crashing back as Dark Queen flew in to engage them. But Alita let go of Optimus and flew right over to deliver a kick to its back and allowing Optimus to strike with an uppercut to knock the Dark Queen in the air right as Alita jumped to meet it and pulled back her feet to slam them both into the Dark Queen's back and crash it into the ground. Meanwhile, the Shinkiro, Gurren, and Lancelot flew around Megatron in literal circles as he looked with amusement. You think you can distract me from controlling my puppets? The Decepticon leader was able to see through their plan. Well, give it your best shot, if you can defeat the champion of Kaon. He drew his blade and allowed them to make the first move. I won't be drawn in like last time, Megatron. Lelouch thought to himself. This time, you're going to play into my hands. Zero then activated his Nightmare's communication so he could speak to Colin and Suzaku without Megatron overhearing their plan. Here's what we're going to do. Hit and run attacks, don't engage him in a direct fight. Keep him on his toes. Suzaku, Strike with the Varus first, get him off his vantage point. Understood. Suzaku aimed his Lancelot's Varus and fired at the ground underneath Megatron, forcing him to leap into the air as he avoided the blast. Before he even had the chance to transform, however. Colin, strike form behind. Now, Zero ordered. Without needing to be told twice, the Gurren's energy wings activated as Colin shot directly behind Megatron at a speed faster than the Decepticon leader anticipated and blasted him with a point-blank attack from her Radiant Surger, sending Megatron crashing through the ruined building that was once his vantage point. Megatron attempted to recover as he climbed out through the other side, but the Shinkiro suddenly appeared in front of him as Zero fired his Hadron cannons around Megatron, not only blasting him back, but causing a sizable portion of the building to collapse. There's only one path for him to take now. Lelouch thought right before he saw Megatron fly out of the collapsing rooftop in his Cybertronian jet mode. I knew it, he smirked. Suzaku, with me. Shoot and coral him straight for Colin. The Shinkiro transformed into its Cybertronian shuttle alt mode, with the Lancelot doing the same into its Cybertronian jet mode. Both vehicle modes flew together in pursuit of Megatron as they fired energon bolts at him, forcing Megatron to keep flying straight up where the Gurren was waiting for him. Get a load of this, Megajackus. Colin exclaimed as she shot a hail of red energon bolts from her Gurren's energy wings. Several managed to hit Megatron and send him derailing off his course and crashing straight toward the ground. As he skidded, Megatron quickly transformed back into his robot form as he came to a halt on his hands and knees. He growled at the three nightmares before firing his fusion cannon at them. Keep attacking at a distance. Lelouch ordered as the Shinkiro and Lancelot both transformed back and maneuvered with the Gurren, circling Megatron as they continued to fire their long-distance weapons at him. No matter how cunning he is, he has to focus on us. Whether he focuses directly or tries to split it between us or his puppets. Already the Dark Pawn trio closest to them began to short-circuit and glitch, leaving them open for the heroes to attack. Bumblebee was the first to strike as he delivered a series of punches across one Dark Pawn to knock it down before quickly drawing his katana to impale and terminate it. RC zoomed toward the second Dark Pawn in her motorcycle form before transforming and drawing her arm blades as she leapt towards it with a decapitating slice. Orpheus lunged with the Byakuin's taser weapon, scoring a direct hit on the third Dark Pawn and causing it to short-circuit before Sideswipe brought his sword down to cut the final Dark Pawn in half vertically. Back with the Black Dragon unit, the four Dark Pawns also began to glitch up, which the Holy Swords were able to take advantage of as they spun around the enemy for the spinning life or death formation technique to cut them down with little issue. Urabe, Senba, help Zidane. Chiba ordered. Asahina, you and I will assist Drift and the Colonel. Acknowledged. The other three Holy Swords reported before splitting off to their assigned tasks. Zidane continued to maneuver around the rapid-fire bullets of the seemingly stationary land, trying to find an opening. However, he looked in surprise to see Senba and Urabe's Akatsukis slide directly toward land at high speeds. Though the Headmaster seemed to be able to anticipate this and turned her attention toward the pair, firing at them and forcing them to divert paths, it gave Zidane an opening to move in with his Gekka Shiden quickly enough to strike land in the head area, knocking the girl inside and rattling the entire unit, and allowing the Purple Nightmare to slice with a sword to cut down the guns mounted on Land's arms, forcing her to fall back as her primary weapon had been destroyed. At the same time, Shockwave had transformed into his tank mode as he shot rapid energon blasts to keep Drift, Toto, and even Jetstorm and Safeguard at bay, but he grunted as he felt bullets pelt him from above, courtesy of the Akatsukis piloted by Asahina and Chiba, forcing Shockwave to transform and open fire at them. This however left Shockwave open for Drift to move in first and slice at him with both his blades, which Shockwave blocked with his cannon, but this was merely a distraction for Jetstorm and Safeguard to leap up from their teacher's shoulders and strike at Shockwave's chest, causing him to stumble back right as Toto barreled his Zangetsu right at him, launching all his slash harkens to send Shockwave hurtling back and crashing into a ruined building. With the Elite Guard unit, the last two Dark Pawns, like the others, began to glitch and stutter, which Cornelia took full advantage of as she and the remaining Black Knights with her opened fire to gun them down and obliterate them. At the same time, Prowl ran around the Dark Siegfried as he activated his hologram projector, creating two holographic duplicates of himself before transforming and driving around the massive nightmare in literal circles in an attempt to confuse the brainwashed Jeremiah, which was totally working. Damn Autobots. You and your tricks. Jeremiah grunted, while also giving Geass a chance to grapple at him from behind with his hook, pulling himself as well as Undertone straight up. Undertone was the first to attack with his spear, driving it right the neck of the head unit of the Dark Siegfried, causing Jeremiah to yell as he felt the sensation himself, due to being plugged into the machine directly. Why don't you take a load off? Geass was holding onto the struggling Dark Siegfried's back before aiming his sonic gun and unleashing it full power, just as the real Prowl, who deactivated his holograms, gunned it right at the Dark Siegfried's legs and transformed to land a flying double kick behind its right knee right as Geass opened fire. The double attack sent the massive mech tumbling straight towards the group as Geass and Undertone let go. Timber! Geass exclaimed as the disabled nightmare crashed onto the ground just as Geass, Undertone, and Prowl regrouped. Meanwhile, Ultra Magnus appeared to be locked in combat against Order still, however a series of bullets fired at the feet of the Dark Knight Headmaster caused her to stop fighting as she found herself surrounded by Cornelia and the present Black Knights. Now might be an ideal time to surrender, Magnus advised, causing the young woman inside to tisk in minor frustration. Back with the Wreckers, Tamaki noticed how the last two Dark Pawns were glitching up, which gave him the advantage as he aimed his Wrecker Akatsuki's weapons at them. Open fire. Take those zombie ninja things out. He and all the Wrecker Akatsukis around him unloaded their heavy artillery to blast the final two Dark Pawns to smithereens. At the same time, Bulkhead threw out his mace weapon to smack the Dark Galahad and send it tumbling toward the Galatian as Nonette sliced forward to cut off the Nightmare's right arm before VV had a chance to fight back. As he stumbled, Rai shot the Raiden's Surger claw forward to grab the Dark Galahad by its face. Hey Victor, ever know how it feels to be struck by lightning? Rai questioned. You think you can threaten me? VV ranted. You're just a disgrace of Charles. It feels like this, Rai exclaimed, ignoring VV's rant as he activated his Surger claw, shocking the entire Dark Galahad with electricity before it exploded, killing VV, albeit temporarily. I know he's gonna come back from that, but it sure as hell felt good. I'll bet. Bulkhead smirked. And just in case he's back now, he brought his mace weapon down on the burning remains of the Dark Galahad. Even if VV had resurrected so soon, he would have been crushed right away. Nice. Nonette chuckled before glancing toward the Raiden. Rai, are you alright? Rai took a deep breath before responding. Yeah, like I said, that felt good. Yeah, he totally deserved that. Nonette replied. Just like he deserves this. She aimed her Galatians, Varus to obliterate whatever was left of the Dark Galahad's remains, likely killing VV a third time in the process just to add insult to injury. Optimus threw out a punch to the face of the Dark Queen, knocking it back before Alita leapt over Optimus to deliver an airborne roundhouse kick of her own to knock the mysterious Nightmare down once more. They both turned to see Speed about to gun right for them, only for its advance to suddenly halt as Bumblebee and Sideswipe both grabbed its arms and kept it from moving any further. Oh no you don't, Sideswipe stated. Speed's my game and I don't like the competition. We got it. Now what? Bumblebee questioned as the Byakuin rolled up to scan the odd-looking Nightmare. There's a person inside it. At the head, Orpheus reported. Understood. Optimus nodded. RC. On it. RC quickly ran up to the struggling Nightmare as she leapt, drew her arm blades and sliced past its neck. As she slid to a halt, the head unit fell off before the decapitated mechanical body fell back. The sudden shock of the decapitation was enough to shock the girl inside and knock her unconscious. Meanwhile, Colin threw an energy sphere from her Gurren Surger claw at Megatron's feet, not only blasting him back but also creating a smokescreen. This left him open for Suzaku to aim his Lancelot's Varus once again and blast Megatron in the back, sending him flying and crashing towards the Shinkiro as it fired its Hadron cannon at him, sending the Decepticon leader crashing back with explosive results. Though he was still alive, Megatron was down on his knees, but he was far from defeated. Looks like it's just about checkmate. Zero commented as the three Nightmares regrouped. Then let's finish it. Colin glared. Right here and now. I agree. Suzaku stated. If we end Megatron, the Decepticons will fall apart. We can end this war. Then we have no time to waste. Charge your weapons to full capacity. We're gonna blast him to dust. Zero ordered as all three nightmares charged their weapons. Megatron however had one last trick up his sleeve. I'll admit, I underestimated Lelouch as well as his friends. They might actually have me beat, he sneered evilly. But, maybe it's time I break that boy once and for all. He pulled himself up back to his feet and took command of his only remaining puppet. To me, my Dark Queen. The mysterious unit that was known as the Dark Queen suddenly sprang to life as it soared directly over Optimus, catching not only his attention, but the other Autobots as well as Orpheus as they gave chase, and by extension, got closer to Megatron and their allies. At the same time, the disabled Dark Mordred's cockpit was manually opened as Anya, still under Marianne's possession, climbed out to see the Dark Queen coming closer to Megatron, right before it came to a stop in front of him just as the Shinkiro, Gurren, and Lancelot had their weapons fully charged. That shield is not gonna stop us. Colin exclaimed. We'll obliterate both of them. You may want to rethink that, Lelouch. Megatron spoke to the leader of the Black Knights specifically as the Dark Queen's central cockpit opened to reveal something that caused Lelouch's pupils to shrink. What? Acting on instinct, Lelouch pulled the Shinkiro up to fire the fully charged central chest cannon straight into the sky. Colin and Suzaku were also shocked at what they saw as they pulled their weapons away to the side to veer around Megatron and the Dark Queen. What the hell? Colin saw what Lelouch was seeing, as did Suzaku, who was rendered completely speechless. Optimus, RC, Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Elita, even Orpheus were all seeing it as well as they looked more shocked than they had ever been. Even the emotionally calm Optimus had almost completely lost his composure. Even the spirit possessing Anya could not see it coming as her borrowed eyes wavered at this revealed bombshell. In the central unit of the Dark Queen mech appeared to be the body of a young woman. Only her upper body appeared to be visible as her entire lower section had been removed, along with her arms, and connected to the inner machinery of this mech by tubes and wires that also connected to her back. But there was no mistaking the long black hair, face, or violet eyes that looked completely dead. Mother. Lelouch stuttered as he and all his friends and allies present saw the body of his own flesh and blood mother, Marianne v Britannia, installed into the Dark Queen like some kind of battery. There is no use talking to her. As I'm sure you're aware, Lelouch, she's been dead for almost 8 years. Megatron told him with a sneer. Lelouch opened the cockpit of the Shinkiro to make sure he wasn't seeing things, to see the body of his mother with his own eyes. What did you do? After your mother's untimely death, your father took her body and had it preserved. Megatron began. Of course, after I exterminated him, her corpse fell into my possession. At first, I considered throwing it away like the garbage that it was. But then again, it seemed like such a waste. So, I gave the body to Shockwave and allowed him to experiment on it to his Spark's content. Her brain and nervous system are fused with the endoskeleton material of this nightmare, which belonged to your father before I destroyed him, which Shockwave heavily modified of course. But, at the end, all it ever was just a corpse, that is until I infused it with the blood of Unicron. His sneer only grew. This puppet retains all the memories and experiences of her past life, but she carries no will or true life of her own whatsoever. She's a literal puppet at my strings, the most powerful one of all. She is my Dark Queen. Everybody present, Bumblebee, Suzaku, Orpheus, RC, Elita, Sideswipe, but especially Colin and Optimus were beyond livid at what Megatron had just revealed. However, no words could describe just how horrified and torn Lelouch felt inside. You didn't, you. How could? It felt like something inside him died as tears streamed down his face. Come now, there's no need to weep, my boy. Megatron continued. I'd say this was a fate she deserved. If you truly knew your mother, you would likely wish this fate upon her. But sadly, you may never know, but CC might. Megatron. Optimus shouted as he was the first to shoot directly at him, followed by everyone else. However, he had already transformed and flown into the sky with the Dark Queen flying right behind him. Retrieve the Dark Mordred and its pilot. Megatron instructed the Dark Queen as it did just as its puppeteer instructed and flew back down to the ground just as Megatron contacted the Nemesis. Soundwave, prepare multiple ground bridge extractions. We're done here. The Dark Queen flew back down and quickly grabbed the Dark Mordred, causing Anya inside to stumble and fall back into her cockpit as she was also carried away. However, from her vantage point, the spirit of Marianne was rendered completely speechless as she saw her own mangled and defiled body. There were no words to describe just how she was feeling right as a ground bridge portal opened up, allowing the pair to escape, while also leaving the disabled mech of Speed behind. At the same time, all across the warzone, order, land, power, and as well as Shockwave escaped through the ground bridge portals that appeared near them. Even as the heroes shot at them and tried to stop them, they were unable to prevent their escape. Even portals opened up underneath the disabled Dark Siegfried and ruins of the Dark Galahad, pulling away VV as well as Jeremiah. Back in the air, Jetfire and Ogi continued to battle Refrain, but it appeared to be a stalemate. Even Sarah was locked in a stalemate of her own against Neburos, that is until he got an alert. Acknowledged. He reported to his superior before pulling his nightmare back just as a ground bridge portal opened up from behind. Looks like you get to remain free a little while longer, CC. I have orders to retreat. Refrain, it's time to go. Refrain ceased its fighting as it shot into the air before flying to meet Neburos before they flew directly into the portal. Wait. Sarah tried to stop them, but they were already gone. The Ark, the laboratory. Ratchet and Perceptor worked delicately with the recovered head from the Speed mech as they tried to cut it open with precise tools so not to damage the organic that was inside. At the same time, Lloyd, Cecile, Fixit, Rakshata, and Ganabati looked at the body of the mech that had also been brought in and laid across a Cybertronian examination table for study. Oh my, this is an unusual nightmare. Lloyd commented. It's unlike anything that we've seen so far. Cecile said. And we haven't even begun analyzing yet. I'd personally love to meet whoever made this. Rakshata added. No, trust me you don't. Fixit quickly said. Because if the reports were true, and this was a creation of Shockwave, he gave a fearful gulp. Who exactly is Shockwave? Ganabati asked. One of the most dangerous Decepticons there is. Fixit replied. Megatron's top scientist, responsible for multiple unethical experimentations, and if he's working with Dark Energon. Okay, that is a terrifying thought. Cecile muttered as even Lloyd and Rakshata looked a bit nervous. It's open. They heard Ratchet's voice as the group of 5 quickly turned around to see the Autobot scientists having finished opening the head unit, only for him and Perceptor to look in absolute shock at what was inside. What in Primus? It's a human girl. Perceptor stated upon seeing the unconscious blonde girl inside. Meanwhile, Lelouch sat in his own personal quarters, the color in his eyes vanished as he appeared completely dead inside. His mind had almost completely shut down, and it seemed like his heart would as well. The door opened as he glanced to see the group consisting of Colin, Suzaku, Nunnally, Shirley, Rai, Millie, Nina, Rivals, Euphemia, Sayoko, Kagaya, and even Cornelia walk inside. Lelouch, are you okay? Shirley asked, but he didn't answer. We heard what happened out there. Millie said, but Lelouch still didn't respond, even as Arthur leapt up to his side and tried to purr and nuzzle against him, but it didn't seem to work. Everyone looked amongst each other, unsure of what to do as it didn't even seem like he had heard any of them. Nunnally then approached him and gently placed her hand on his, which seemed to stir him slightly. Big brother, please say something. This time, Lelouch spoke, though it seemed to be something of a tiny laugh. You know, I actually thought I had him, that I had gotten over what he did, and I could make him play into my hands, give him a taste of his own medicine. But he did it to me again. He chuckled slightly, causing his friends and siblings to look at him with concern. Just like before, I was just a piece in his game. He knows exactly how to get to me, and I let myself play into his hands again. I guess I really am just a fool, huh? It's almost funny. It seemed like he was laughing, but it also seemed like he was crying at the same time. Though everyone looked at Lelouch in shock, even Nunnally was unsure of what to do here. Colin was the first to walk up to him and wrap her arms around him, completely catching him off guard and snapping him out of his state. I'm sorry. He heard her speak. Lelouch, I am so sorry. Nunnally was next as she hugged her brother, followed by Euphemia as well as Cornelia, and even Shirley. Millie, Kagaya, Sayoko, and Rai joined in as well, followed by Rivals, Nina, and Suzaku as they each placed a hand on his back. Having all these people that he had come to care for and love embrace him like this was all it took for the dam to break as he cried his eyes out, letting all the emotion turmoil that had built up inside him to flow out like a flood. He heard everyone around him say how sorry they were. "We're all here for you, Lelouch. Every one of us." Yuffie's voice cracked as she comforted her brother. "None of us are going to forgive him for what he's done." Cornelia spoke. "But we are not going to leave you, not this time, little brother. You have so many people here who love you and want to help you in any way they can." Geass said. "So please let us." "We're here, buddy, we're here." Rivals said. "Friends stick together till the end." Millie added. "That's right." Nina added. "You didn't give up on me, so I'm not going to give up on you either, Lelouch." Suzaku said. "I'll always be with you, my lord." Sayoko said. "We're more than friends. We're family." Rai stated. "And this family is going to stick with you even at the end of the world." Shirley said. "We love you, big brother. So just let it all out." Nunnally comforted as she also shed tears at what had befallen the body of her mother. "No matter what happens, Lelouch, none of us will ever leave your side. We've got your back," Colin said as she patted his back while being the closest to him. "I've got your back." Meanwhile, outside, as everyone continued to comfort the sobbing revolutionary, Optimus, Bumblebee, and Alita had heard everything as they glanced towards each other with smiles of their own. While they were still enraged with what Megatron did, they would not let Lelouch break. Once he was done, and he had time to recover, each of them would lend their support as well, showing the boy that he wasn't truly alone. However, around the corner, none of them seemed to notice Sarah with a torn expression on her face. She truly felt sympathy and pity for Lelouch and wanted to comfort him as well, but she felt she had no right to. "I'm so sorry, Lelouch. I want to tell you the truth, but I can't. Not just at how hard you'll take it, but what would you think of me? Please forgive me." The Nemesis. Megatron stood on the bridge of his warship alongside Shockwave and Soundwave. "Despite the outcome of the battle, I would call it a rather successful test run. Shockwave, are you able to improve upon these results?" "Affirmative, Lord Megatron." Shockwave nodded. "The next line of Dark Pawns will undergo extensive modifications. But I believe there is also work to be done with your control over them. They cannot function properly if your focus is split." "Yes, unfortunately." Megatron's smile faded. "We'll have to work on that." However, the silent one of the trio walked up to his master's side. "Is there something you'd like to say, Soundwave?" Soundwave nodded as he attached his tentacles to the bride's main console and typed in the necessary commands to view a recorded message on the central screen, which both Megatron and Shockwave recognized. "This is the message that was relayed from the Nemesis," Shockwave observed. "The one that called for additional Decepticon aid." However, Soundwave broke apart the frequency to identify a hidden message that contained the Autobot logo. A hidden message, Megatron identified. So, the Autobots used our own message to call for reinforcements of their own. Very clever. But Soundwave wasn't done yet. Once this frequency was isolated, it was a simple matter of backtracking it and tracing it to its source, which was identified on the main screen with a world map and precise coordinates at the Pacific Ocean floor, where a three-dimensional image of a familiar vessel appeared. "The Ark," Megatron exclaimed before he gave a laugh. "So, Optimus still uses that derelict vessel. I should have expected as much, but now we know its exact location." He then turned to his two most trusted followers. "Contact all our forces, deploy the Nemesis. It is time to put this revolution to an end." And this at the end of Season 2 Part 2 of this What If. Hope you guys like it. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.